welcome to Team Combat League.
Good evening, fight fans, and welcome to Team Combat League TV. Welcome to the beautiful Oceanside Revere in Revere, Massachusetts, and welcome to Week 4, Season 2 of the Team Combat League. Tonight, the Boston Butchers make their TCL debut against the DC Destroyers, and what is a very unique concept, it's team boxing. If you're not used to it, if you're not familiar yet with what this means, each team has 24 fighters, and they fight one-round fights to determine who in the end has the most points and comes out the winner. It's a very brand new, unique concept that's been brought into play. Last season was Season 1, and now we're into Season 2, where TCL has expanded from 8 to 12 teams. The Boston Butchers are one of those new expansion teams. They make their debut tonight. So much action in store. Michael Parenti bringing you all the action. I'm joined by my broadcast partner, Peter Welch of Welch's Boxing. Peter, you're someone who has been around this sport for a long time, very traditional like I am. You're used to those 8-round, 10-round, 12-round championship fights. What do you think about the concept of a one-round fight?
Well, it's action-packed. You got one round to make your mark. You're with your team. You know, you have to make a good impression. You have one round to do it, and it's going to be a lot of fireworks, a lot of action early.
It promises to be intense action from the opening bell. We have 3 rounds that this is broken down into: the launch rounds, the middle rounds, and then the money rounds in the end to close out the show. For a further explanation of the rules, we're going to send it to Dewey Cooper for a full explanation.
Team Combat League is a new, exciting professional boxing team sport. The fight format for Team Combat League guarantees explosiveness, adrenaline, and excitement. There's a 24-round competition between 2 teams from different cities, and each individual round is a new individual matchup. The first 8 rounds are called the lunch rounds. We're lunching the competition off. The middle 8 rounds are called the middle rounds, and the last 8 rounds from round 17 through 24 are called the money rounds. Each round is scored individually, new matchups every round, and the team with the most points at the end of 24 rounds wins the fight. There's nothing more exciting than Team Combat League.
So there it is, Dewey Cooper with an explanation of the rules and how this will all go down tonight for Team Combat League. And with that said, the Boston Butchers, as we mentioned, Peter, are making their TCL debut tonight. So many familiar faces in the New England region, many that you have worked with in the past. Who stands out to you tonight? Who are you keeping an eye on?
Now you put me on the spot, right? So it's a team. There's a ton of kids from the New England area. Can't say enough about all of them, really. Fontenez, Parella, Hogan, Tevin. You know, the list goes on and on. It's a lot of local kids. Many of them come through my gym when we ran tournaments throughout the New England area, and it's going to be a great one.
And both rosters, we should mention, are completely stacked from top to bottom, both the DC Destroyers and the Boston Butchers. Our ringside correspondent, Ron Board, just had a chance to catch up with both head coaches and some of the fighters competing tonight. Let's send it over to Ron.
Barry, as a trainer, how difficult is it to prepare these fighters for this kind of event, whether they're used to fighting 8 rounds, 10 rounds, whatever, now they're going to fight 3 minutes, and then some guys will sit for a while and come back again. What's the difference from your perspective?
Well, when this concept was first brought to me, you know, and I was like so many other trainers that I've been in the trenches with, legendary trainers as well, I turned it down like 3 times. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, because, you know, I was so used to traditional boxing. And I had to kind of set back. You know, I spoke with my wife about it, and a very good friend of mine that happened to be my attorney. And they said, well, just try it. You know what I mean? And if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. At least you can say you tried it. So what ultimately happened is Mark, which is one of the owners, and Ahmed, spoke to them. Mark came down, he saw me, and we had an audition. After the audition, I was kind of sold on it because it was very, very exciting. Traditional boxing, sometimes, you know, let's be honest, it's like watching paint dry. This type of boxing, you don't have a chance to as they say, chill. You got to get it. You got to get it within 15 to 20 seconds, make the adjustments, and then go, because it's like a hot round.
Sure.
And I've watched seasoned veterans, people that fought for world titles, people that were world champions, come through this league and went to one round and thought it was going to be easy and gassed out in a half a round, right? But overall it was nonstop action. You don't have a chance to go get no hot dogs or beer or go to the bathroom a lot of times because boom, it's over.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I really liked it, and who knows? Could be looking at the evolution of boxing.
What do you tell a counterpuncher if a guy comes to you and he's because it would seem to me there's not much time for counterpunching.
I watched Austin Trout, which is an excellent counterpuncher, and of course was world champion in boxing. And I watched Trout his only time in I believe we were in L.A. And lo and behold, he went in there and put on a clinic against a kid that had fought through the tournament and that could fight, and he really didn't even get touched. You know what I mean? So I would say to any fighter that get into this thing, if you're a counterpuncher, if that guy's the bull, then you become the matador. You know what I mean? And just keep turning, keep boxing. Don't stop being who you are in the ring. You know what I mean? But just know that one round resemble the 12th round or the 10th round in the 10th round of fight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Barry.
You're welcome.
We're with Mark Agaro, the coach of the Boston Butchers. This is a first event for you and your team. How do you sort of approach this going in, because it's so different from conventional boxing?
We're kind of learning on the fly, so we have to take everything, with a grain of salt as we go and kind of be flexible. As we go, well, obviously you learn a lot this first time, but everybody's fought so many times, they know the basics of it. That's all we really need to focus on is do the basics, do them really well, and I think we'll do really well.
You've got a couple fighters that are going to be fighting a round, then they're out for a while, then they're going to be fighting another round, which is, I would think, pretty unusual for these guys. How do you approach those particular fighters and how they have to not just check out after their first 3 minutes?
Right, so that's part of the strategy we talked about, is how to prepare yourself, get yourself mentally, physically ready to go to battle for 3 minutes. Pull yourself down a little bit, cool down, and then rev yourself back up. So that's part of the process. Like I said, we're going to learn on the fly a little bit, but I hope, these guys have done it so much. We've been practicing test matches to do it. So I think during the match we'll be spot on.
Is this in your mind as sort of attack mode boxing? I think of a guy like Floyd Mayweather would have a hard time here because the fight would be over.
You would think. I have my own thoughts, and I really think our boxers, guys like Rashidi, guys who have speed, guys who can box, and guys who can jab and counterpunch are going to give anybody who gives pressure a hard time. I think we're going to get a couple of knockdowns of people who try to come at us too hard.
Is it similar in some ways to sort of the amateur boxing approach as opposed to professionally, because you have so little time to score points?
It's similar to a high-level amateur match with the small gloves and no headgear, so you can't I don't think you can be overly aggressive. I don't think it's a good thing to be overly aggressive. We don't want those 10-8 rounds on our side, and we want them against them.
One last thing. The money round, obviously those last 8 fights, that's what everyone sort of looks forward to. And a lot of times that's where these things are decided. What's your approach going into that, and do you have to alter how you prepare these guys and talk to them if they're in the money round?
We'll probably have a quick chat with them after their first round and get them, kind of get them situated depending on who they're going against, if they're rematching somebody or not. But the way I'm approaching it is we're going to be up the whole time, and we're going to be ahead, and we're not going to have to worry about doing anything out of strategy. And we're going to go down the line, and we're going to, keep getting the 10-9 rounds.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark Agaro, Boston Butchers.
On a more serious note, as we get ready for action tonight in Week 4, Season 2 of TCL, Peter, as we know in boxing, one of the old sayings is that you don't play boxing. Certainly not a game, and this is a very dangerous sport. And unfortunately, we saw some of the effects of that 2 weeks ago in Week 2 of this season when Miami Assassins fighter Artie Ndembo suffered an injury during his match in a knockout loss. Unfortunately, Artie is right now in a medically induced coma fighting for his life, and TCL is doing its best to support Artie and his family. Artie's family has started a GoFundMe account, which you can see on the screen right now. We urge you to donate as much as you can to help support Artie and his family. Team Combat League will match third-party donations up to $25,000 to help in this support, and the Boston Butchers and DC Destroyers have donated to this GoFundMe as well. So in hope that Artie makes a full, speedy recovery, we're going to do our best. We're going to make donations and hope to wish Artie a speedy recovery, hopefully to get back in the ring someday and just sustain life. But just a stark reminder that boxing, of course, is a serious sport. If you can give generously and donate, we ask that you do. And our prayers, not only for Team Combat League, the Boston Butchers, and the DC Destroyers, are all with the Indembo family tonight.
Cash chase, moving at a fast pace. Never been a dummy, never did what the dummies do. So I had to mill the bird before I turned 22. More money, more problems, is true. Cause the more money I make, the more problems for you. Yeah, I use dude voice, props to the boy Sean. He made it a hot line, I made it a hot song. So stop drawing, man, you gotta respect it. I'm the best Swiss, got it perfected. Don't mess with CASSIDY. Cause I became the best when B.I.G. died. The kid do it big like P-U-N. Cause I'm nice like P-A-C.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Oceanside Resorts here in Revere, Massachusetts. For the fans watching around the world and right here in person, this is Team Combat League. I am joined by the president of TCL, Dewey Cooper, for a quick message here to the fans.
Boston, we are here. We're excited. Team Combat League has finally made it to Massachusetts here in Boston. Guys, we thank each and every one of you that are here. We greatly appreciate you. And guess what? This is a monumental night for Team Combat League because this is officially our first ever sellout audience. So thank you guys for all coming. Yes, sir. The DC Destroyers are a team from the first season. They're a very talented group of boxers. This is the debut of the Boston Butchers. So I want all you guys to give them your energy, your love, and your strength for the battle tonight. We appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Team Combat League Boston, we here.
President of TCL, Dewey Cooper, when we brought a team here to Boston, I told them it was the city of champions, and we are delivering it here tonight with a sellout audience. So thank you, everybody, for being here and for tuning in at home on TeamCombatLeague.tv. What do you say? Let's get the action going here, and welcome to the stage, the DC Destroyers.
Well, all right. Star Child, citizens of the universe, recording aids. We have returned to claim
For the DC Destroyers is Barry Hunter.
down to 3D. Like, yeah. All right. Yeah, they know it. Ain't nobody getting bored. Get down. Hit it, fellas. Stop. Put a glide in your stride and dip in your hip and come on to the mothership. Doing stuff. Hustle on over here. Ain't nothing but a party, y'all. Even your memory bank never got this far. Mother just the next time. Home of the people, the bomb. Doing it in 3D.
Ladies and gentlemen, now let's welcome the Boston Butchers! The head coach for the Boston Butchers, Mark Gargano!
sound. You can understand what I can do with these hands. The butcher's coming, so you know it's about to be a problem. I'm looking at my brothers, and you know they know I got 'em. I do this for the fam every day. To my hand, go get raised for the city where I stay. That's enough of cook, I'm never double take. I'm unorthodox, I throw a hook and put you in the grave. We the butchers, chop you up, now we in here to play. Blood, sweat, tears, such is how New England is made. All that pain and struggle, man, I took that to the face. I'm a light in the dark, I looked up, then I prayed. That's the champion way, so we poppin' champagne. We gon' win again, cause I'm first in this race. We gon' make history, we gon' make history. Together we stand tall, secure victory, secure victory. Tonight you gon' see the best of me, it's left to me. I'ma give it all I have inside to see. I'ma take this victory, it's positively legendary. I'ma make history.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started here, please welcome to sing the national anthem, El Leon. Tonight's colors and flag presentation brought to you by the Boston Fire Honor Guard.
All right, you guys, join me with the national anthem. Moment of silence. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, El Leon. And thank you to the Boston Fire Honor Guard. All right, fight fans here in Revere, Massachusetts, and around the world, it's time to get started. Boston versus the DC Destroyers. Let's meet the starting lineup here in the launch rounds. First for the heavyweights, fighting out of the DC Destroyers, Jacob Branch. And his opponent on the Boston Butchers, Tim Hatfield. Then in the light heavyweight division from the DC Destroyers, Alantez Fox. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Francis Hogan. Also in the light heavyweight division from the DC Destroyers, Demetrius Ballard. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Thomas Hogan. division, from the DC Destroyers, David Grayton. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Rashidi Ellis. In the female welterweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Natalie Brown. And her opponent from the Boston Butchers, Amelia Moore. In the lightweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Jabali Breedy. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Alejandro Paulino. In the female featherweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Jennifer Miranda. Her opponent from the Boston Butchers, Melanie Costa. And tonight's first bout in the featherweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Amadazi Jalili. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Irving Gonzalez.
Here we go, round number one. Fight one of 24 underway. Michael Parenti joined by Peter Welch on TeamCombatLeague.tv. And here we are in week 4, season 2 of TCL, the Boston Butchers and the Destroyers. And speaking of destroyed, Irving Gonzalez scores a quick knockdown against Amazadi Jalili. Jalili, born and raised in Afghanistan, coming in here. This is his first fight in the United States and first fight of record that I can find anywhere. Gonzalez, a seasoned pro from Worcester, Mass. with 20 pro fights under his belt. He's teeing off again, and that is going to do it. A huge knockout for Irving Gonzalez in fight number 1. And that's going to give the Destroyers, or rather the Butchers, a quick 10-7 lead right out the gate. Jalili is down and out. What an impressive showing by Irving Gonzalez, the Worcester, Mass. native. And Peter, this is a fighter with 12 knockouts on his resume against from what we gather, a very inexperienced opponent, and it showed here tonight.
Yeah, it looked like Jalili didn't have what it took to go up against Gonzalez, and you know, it really showed. I mean, we didn't have much on Jalili in the first place, and that just proved the point that there really wasn't anything.
Now, Jalili was not scheduled to fight again tonight, so there's no case of a possible forfeit or replacement opponent, whether that's in the middle rounds or the money rounds. But here in the launch rounds, you want to talk about launching the debut of the Butchers. Here's a look at the replay here.
Absolutely. Great start. Great start.
That big right hook. The first time down, left hook the second time, and that's what ended it. So
it was clean. He was out.
Once again, based on the rules, as Dewey Cooper explained to us during the pre-show broadcast, this goes down now as a 10-7 round and a 10-7 victory for the Butchers. That's a great way to start it out. You start building up some points like that, it makes it very hard for the Destroyers to catch up in the end. But in any event, we hope Jali's okay. He's
Yeah,
back
hard to
his
recover
feet.
from that. He catches
Yeah.
him clean on the chin like that. He ain't coming back. Now he's got a 90-day suspension after that.
It's going to be a while before you see Jalili again for the next Destroyers matchup, so likely he is not going to be in there the next time the Destroyers get in the ring. But Irving Gonzalez with a big, big victory tonight to kick off the debut of the
great.
Boston Butchers. A great showing. And again, we mentioned that for Gonzalez, 20-fight veteran, 27 years of age, just came in there and I think really showed that experience tonight.
Yeah, I want to see him in round 2.
Would love to see more of Irving Gonzalez, and unfortunately tonight he is not matched up a second time on this card. So he's going to get a nice break. Came in here for about 30 seconds of work, and hey, he gets to go home and call it a night.
Great job, Gonzalez. Looking forward to seeing more from him.
So now we move on to bout number 2 here with the female featherweight division. Melanie Costa of the Boston Butchers fighting out of Norton, Massachusetts.
In the female featherweight division from the DC
Gotta keep
Destroyers,
the action
Jennifer
going.
Miranda,
Nice.
and for the Boston Butchers, Melanie Costa.
Pat Sullivan on the call. Jennifer Miranda, born in Spain, now resides in the DC area. Very experienced fighter, 10-1 as a pro boxer. She's 5-5 lifetime with TCL, so she split her 10 matchups last year in season 1. Coming off a big win January in Spain, she returned to her home country. Hasn't fought in the TCL format since last August, but she's a former 2-time WBA Intercontinental Champion and 11-time national champion. So you talk about Melanie Costa, also a decorated amateur in her time, made her pro debut earlier this year.
What's she, like 15 fights as a pro?
Miranda has 11 fights as a pro. Melanie Costa only 3.
Okay, so that's an amateur record.
Both
She was
very
15.
experienced as amateurs, however, Peter. Costa making a strong push. Much taller opponent in
You see
Miranda.
the size differences, the contrast. Costa's going to try to go to the body, set things up, and of course, Miranda's going to try to stay on the outside and pick her apart.
You know, Peter, we talk about taller fighters allegedly having that advantage, but it's not much of a height advantage if you don't actually use it.
Got to use it. She seems to be setting those uppercuts, looking to set up the uppercuts and finish with the hook.
Always a good way to stop a hard-charging opponent with that uppercut. We've seen it work wonders in the past with a taller fighter. Miranda, again, very experienced.
She's getting away with keeping her hands low. She's staying far enough away, but look for Costa to close distance and catch her with an overhand.
Costa, during the day, is a police officer for the Norton Police Department. They nicknamed her the Pit Bull. And you kind of see that Pit Bull fighting style. She likes to get on the inside, which, you, as you mentioned, you have to do against a taller opponent.
Yeah, when you get that size difference, you got to go to the body first, work your way in.
Halfway through this round, this is fight 2 of 24. Costa and Miranda.
She didn't have much luck closing distance. Miranda was picking her apart on the way in, so now she's staying on the outside, which isn't going to work because you see Miranda's throwing that uppercut. She's controlling that distance with the jab.
You know, again, Peter, we talk about this concept of having only 3 minutes to get that victory and who it could favor, right? And I feel like it could favor both type of fighters, whether you're a fast starter or a slow starter who likes to set the pace. There's a possibility for either side to win a fight like this and win this round.
With a mismatch in size like this, Costa has to have that power punch to make a difference. I think Miranda's going to control it. It's going to be over before you know it.
Final 45 seconds here. Costa trying to work her way in.
Costa needs a knockout or a knockdown to win the round.
And so far, Miranda's showing that experience and that height advantage, as we mentioned, 5'6".
Like to see more of that from the pit bull. Steady pace and stay on her. Can't give her that distance. Can't give her time to set up and be relaxed. Basically got to smother her.
The final 15 seconds here for Costa to try to keep the Butcher's success going. Miranda doesn't seem all that impressed. The look on her face.
Very slick. She's got everything under control.
And she's been around a long time. And there's the bell. So that round in the books, looking like it went in the favor of Miranda. Peter, what did you see from Miranda that allowed her to control the pace?
Just the jab, setting everything up long, the distance, that right uppercut. And when you can control that distance like that, you know, there's not much your opponent can do against you.
Look at some of the action here.
Let's welcome to the ring the next 2 contestants from the DC Destroyers, Jabali Breedy, and for the Boston Butchers, Alejandro Paulino.
So we'll get the score momentarily, but right now we're ready for bout number 3. This one I'm really looking forward to. Alejandro Paulino, who's made a fast climb in the pro ranks against Kobe Breedy, who has been around a little bit longer as a pro, fighting out of Maryland, born in Barbados. Breedy is part of that stable of fighters from Barbados who've trained under Barry Hunter, who've relocated to this neck of the woods, and Barry Hunter just has that pipeline of bringing in this great international talent, Kobe Breedy being one of them. He's 15-1 as a pro, coming off his only loss, which was in his last pro fight in 2021, and last year was 8-4 with TCL, so he's very accustomed to this format.
Don't blink on this one.
No. Now, Alejandro Paulino, as a pro.
Round was scored 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers.
And there it is, the 10-9 round for the Destroyers. So they creep back into this
score
slowly.
is 19-17 for Boston.
Paulino, as we mentioned, as a pro, is 17-0 despite being just 25 years of age, but has 13 knockouts on his resume. So you're looking at a seasoned veteran in Breedy and Paulino, the young up-and-comer, both hard hitters.
Oh.
And you're seeing that action early on here. No pace establishing
No,
here.
they're going right at it.
And this is what you'd like to see. This is what this format promises. Both guys slugging it out here. I will say about Paulino, I've had an opportunity to call a lot of his fights for CES Boxing, and his defense has come into question. He's had some fights, and he's coming. And I think Breedy knows that, and he's coming after him.
Paulino caught him with something there.
Paulino has hit the canvas a couple of times in his pro career, but has bounced back nicely and has passed each test swimmingly to be at 17-0. But this being his first TCL fight against the more seasoned Breedy, who has 12 fights in this format. And these guys are going at it, Peter.
They're going at it. They're banging.
It's going to be a very difficult round to score if you're one of the ringside judges.
They're looking for the knockout.
Yeah. Knockdown or knockout gives you that automatic edge. Of course, the knockout, if it's Kobe or Breedy, puts the Destroyers out in front.
I'd like to see a little head movement from Paulino, who's taking those shots pretty clean.
And that's been one of the problems in his pro career. As his level of competition has progressed, we've seen some of those challenges and struggles. And Breedy's been around for a long time.
He wobbled Breedy a little bit with that
I think
uppercut.
so.
Look for that uppercut from Paulino right there.
There it is.
Uppercut again.
Halfway through this round, Michael Parenti and Peter Welch bringing you all the action here.
There it is again.
And this is a
finish with that right uppercut, left hook could be good.
It's a perfect thumbnail of what to expect in TCL, this kind of round right here. And you hope to see more of it. These guys are going at it, wasting no time. Nice left hook there by Breedy. And there comes Paulino again.
We got a minute left. I think Paulino got a little bit of an edge. He's got something left. Breedy might be fading a little bit.
And this is a format, Peter, where you can empty the tank. Those final 45, 30 seconds, possibly steal a close round.
There's that uppercut again.
Now, Paulino is scheduled to fight again later on in the night, so.
Oh.
These two are going at it. Final 30 seconds of
Breedy's
fight
still
number
dangerous.
3. He very much is. And you know, it only takes one punch to turn that entire round around.
Like to see Leo getting in there, breaking them up so that they can bang, so they're not wrestling.
It's currently 19-17 in favor of the Butchers. This is a very close round.
I like how Paulino's starting at the body.
Changing levels on Breedy.
Oh! Breedy's got a good chin. He's taking some clean shots.
Some lefts and rights there right before the bell by Paulino. Nice way to close. That's a great fight, Peter.
He wobbled him there. I think Paulino gets that. Wow.
And I think those final maybe 25, 30 seconds may have helped seal it for Paulino.
That was the difference there, Mike. You're right.
Take a look at the replay here from fight 3 of our launch rounds.
Good movement on Paulino's part, stepping over.
So Paulino and Breedy deliver in our third fight.
Finding a home for that uppercut now, finishing with the hook. That was the difference, right? You heard him with that hook.
Absolutely.
Left him wobbling, stepping in potholes as he left the ring.
Now our fight 4 combatants step into the ring. Back to the female welterweight division. Natalie Brown and Amelia Moore.
The next contestants from the DC Destroyers, Natalie Brown, and for the Boston Butchers, Amelia Moore. The judges have tallied the last round. Boston has won that round 10-9 and now lead 29-26.
And so there it is, Peter. Big round for the Butchers. 10-9 on the scorecard in favor of Paulino to keep the Butchers out in front 29-26. Amelia Moore for the Butchers now taking on Natalie Brown. Amelia Moore is an interesting story. 34 years of age, fighting out of Middletown, Connecticut. Highly decorated amateur. Spent 2 years in the U.S. Naval Academy. Multiple national championships. Also was a U.S. Olympic alternate in 2020. So very seasoned as an amateur. And tough sledding for her against Natalie Brown. Natalie Brown, 45 years of age, making her TCL debut for the Destroyers, has not fought since 2018. So a contrast in experience, a contrast in layoff and activity here between these two fighters.
Yeah, Moore is quite a prospect. Got a ton of experience, and I think she just caught her with a right hand there, wobbled her.
Amelia Moore may be smelling blood here in these final 2 minutes of this round.
And if you're streaming at home, it doesn't give you much time to
it
go
really
get a
doesn't.
beer.
I know. Get your snacks before the middle rounds. We take a small break after the first 8 fights, so we go on to the next 8, and then so on and so forth for the final 8, which are the money rounds. But right now, Amelia Moore trying to bring it to Natalie Brown.
Nice. He's really putting it together nice.
Butchers have a nice little comfortable edge here, 29-26 over the Destroyers, and you just want to keep racking up points here for the Butchers. Doesn't matter how you do it. Yeah.
Keep chipping away.
That was a good swing fight there for Paulino to get it back in favor of the Butchers after the Destroyers had the 10-9 round in the second fight.
That was the best one yet.
Yes, absolutely. There comes Moore applying some pressure, Peter.
Good finish with the left. She's dropping into the body, finishing up top nice. Constant pressure. Moore's just putting that constant pressure, stepping forward, walking her down, forcing Brown to the ropes.
Final minute here. Moore trying to nail it home. Had a very solid round thus far. It's worth mentioning as a pro, Natalie Brown had a 7-3 record.
Yeah, she puts it together nice, but she's just not keeping up with the pace that Moore's putting on.
Correct. Moore just a little bit faster. She's younger, a little more speed. Seems to be beating more to the Brown to the punch.
She's forcing the action. She's stepping forward, forcing that pace.
Final 30 seconds of fight 4.
It's interesting because, in a regular 4-6 round fight, you'd be looking to start off feeling the guy out, but you can't do that. You don't have that luxury.
It really does. This format really eliminates the feeling out round, as we saw in that last fight with Breedy and Paulino. And now Moore picking it up here in the final 10 seconds. Just trying to put an exclamation point on this one.
Big finish here, 10 seconds for Moore.
Yes. And there's the bell. Strong round for Amelia Moore, and by all accounts, I think she got the W here in this one.
Yeah, I think she did enough to win that one, Mike.
Should be another 10-9 in favor of the Butchers as they start to pull away a little bit halfway through the launch rounds.
Good start for Boston.
Couldn't ask for anything much better. Here are the replays from this last bout. And Moore just a step faster, Peter.
Yeah. She jumped on her. She got that pace going fast and kept it going. That's the thing. If you could get the jump on the guy and mug him, keep it going. Maybe you catch him and just keep the momentum going. Win that round.
David Grayton.
Highly anticipated.
Butchers, Rashidi Ellis.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one as well. The middleweight division, we have Rashidi Ellis from the Butchers.
Fight fans, that last round was scored 10-9
Speedy Rashidi
for your winner, Boston. The cumulative score is now 39-35 in favor of the Boston Butchers.
So as expected, Amelia Moore gets the 10-9 round. The Butchers now well out in front here, 39-35. But hey, listen, as you know, all it takes is one knockout or 2 knockdowns, and that 10-7 round in favor the other way cuts that lead almost entirely gone at that point. So you cannot rest on the laurels here, even if you have a nice little cushion.
These guys, Mike, they love it. They're looking at it, they're smiling, they're chomping at the bit. They're going to come right at each other.
Rashidi Ellis, veteran of 25 pro fights against David Grayton, 18 pro fights under his belt. Grayton was a member of the Destroyers last year, had a 2-3 record in TCL combat. He's a southpaw, 36 years of age. Rashidi Ellis just turned 30, so great experience here on both sides. A very well-matched bout here. Speedy Ellis trying to show off some of that speed early.
Little tactical game going on here.
Ooh. Some dirty boxing here. These guys getting tied up early.
Little headbutt.
Looks like a little headbutt.
I think he's bleeding. I think Rashidi might have a little cut over his eye.
Something to keep in mind, too, Peter, as we watch this broadcast. A lot of these fighters are fighting heavier than they typically would in this format. As Ellis picks up the pace here.
Caught him with some clean shots.
Now, both of these guys really campaign as welterweights in their career. So fighting at a middleweight limit, and down goes Grayton.
With the right hand.
That's a big turn of events for the Butchers, who are looking to pad their lead. And now you're staring at a 10-8 round for Rashidi Ellis, and that's just going to widen the gap. So great job by Ellis.
Set up.
Yeah.
That's another knockdown there. That's a knockdown. No?
No, I'm surprised. That would have been a 10-7 if there were 2 knockdowns. So
Jerry let him go.
Let him go there. Doesn't get the 10-7 yet, but a lot of time for Ellis. 90 seconds to be exact, Peter.
Ellis just ate a hook there. But
Great.
he's on
He's
him.
just trying to fight out of trouble here, yeah.
Good pressure. He's keeping the pressure on, stepping him down.
Tremendous action in these launch rounds on TeamCombatLeague.tv. We thank you for joining us. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch again bringing you all the action here.
Rashidi's mixing it up, body, head, body.
I love the way, he changes levels so swiftly.
Keeping him on the ropes.
If you're great and you just really want to survive this round, not get that 10-7. It's already going to be a 10-8, but you don't want to lose that extra point in the process.
I'd like to see Rashidi force it a little bit like he did in the beginning of the first minute. It's kind of coasting.
And you wonder, in the back of their minds, the fighter says, hey, I got the 10-8 round. Let me just ride
Yeah.
this out. Don't do anything too crazy.
Right.
And so that's one of the other sides of this platform and what it presents.
Right. Tactics.
A lot of strategizing, if you will.
You do have a team to consider when you're in there.
Very much unlike anything we've seen in pro boxing, this Team Combat League team format. Final 10 seconds here of this 5th fight. And Ellis scores a second knockdown. That's huge in the final 10 seconds.
Knockdown. That was a hook.
And the bell's going to ring, and Ellis is going to have a 10-7 round in the bank.
Could be argued of a slip,
Sure.
but that was a clean contact, and he did go down. So,
well, and perhaps makes up for what we thought was a knockdown earlier the second time. And now Ellis hammers it home. So a big round for Rashidi Ellis, who is now going to have the 10-7 in his pocket for the Butchers, who are now really starting to pull away here.
And you got to love it. To you people back home watching non-stop action.
Absolutely.
These guys just keep lining up. I can't keep up with it. I got to take a break myself.
So the Boston Butchers widening their lead in that last bout.
Now in the ring, the next combatants in the light heavyweight division from the DC Destroyers, Demetrius Ballard, and from the Boston Butchers, Thomas O'Toole. Fans, that last round, round number 5, was scored 10-7 in favor of the Boston Butchers. Fans, when there are 2 knockdowns in a round, it is considered an immediate knockout. And a 10-7 round. The cumulative score so far, Boston 49, DC 42.
So there it is, 49-42 now in favor of the Butchers over the Destroyers. Thomas O'Toole from the Destroyers now lining up against, from the Butchers lining up against Demetrius Ballard of the DC Destroyers. So now the Butchers are in a pretty good position here, Peter. They're up 7 points.
You got to wonder if strategy from the coaches is coming into play now. You know, Thomas Toole, he's long, he's a lefty. Might pose a little bit of a problem for Ballard.
26-year-old southpaw from Ireland now has relocated to Boston and fighting under Mark DeLuca, longtime pro here in the Boston area.
He was here, I saw him as a kid, 2011. They brought a team over from Ireland, and it was a big group of kids. And he's all grown up now, fighting as a pro.
And he looks great. 9-0 as a pro, by the way, with 6 knockouts, so keep that power in the back of your mind. Demetrius Ballard, far more experience as a pro, 31 years of age. He's 21-2-1 in his professional career. Last fought in June of 2023, suffered a loss to Shane Mosley Jr. That's a familiar name. And this is his TCL debut with the Destroyers. And you talked about the strategy, Peter. At some point, the Destroyers have to get a little desperate. They need some knockouts or 2 knockdown rounds to really get back into this. And you can chip away slowly, but if the Butchers continue to pile up rounds, not a knockdown there, that's a slip, but if the Butchers continue to even pile up just 10-9 rounds, 4 or 5 more of those, and it really starts to widen that gap, then the Destroyers have to change their strategy.
You got to wonder what Barry has in the back, you know, if he's got some secret weapons back there.
Hey, may need some power punches in some of these middle and money rounds as we get down the stretch. But be that as it may, we're in fight number 6. More than halfway done with the launch rounds. The Butchers having a great start in their TCL debut here at the Oceanside Revere.
You know, to these kids, this is everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going on their record. They're still able to fight, you know, any other fight cards that they planned on for the rest of the year. This is just like an extra opportunity to get exposure from. I love the idea of this for the kids.
Final minute. Been a pretty close round so far, Peter.
This has been close.
Nobody's really established any sort of presence yet, and there's a little takedown.
There's a takedown. I think Tom could have an advantage if he presses it a little bit. He's just kind of laying back on that long guard.
Well, this is where if you're a Ballard and you're the Destroyers, you want Ballard to really turn it on here.
Right.
You can steal this round in the last 30 seconds, right?
He could steal it because he's looking like he's got to do something a little desperate to score.
And you want to get, and the Destroyers want to get back in this. They need a win desperately here before this starts to really get out of control. This will be very interesting to see here. We got 10 seconds to go, and I really don't have a feel for how this round went. But that's why we don't get paid to judge, and thankfully we just get paid to call it as we see it.
Yeah. I think Thomas did enough in my eyes to win the round.
All right, there's the bell. So fight number 6 in the books between Thomas O'Toole and Demetrius Ballard in the light heavyweight division. And we'll find out how the judges call it. But again, a very important swing round as the Destroyers continue to get further behind. They need every
in the ring. In the light
he's tripping
heavyweight
over his
division
feet.
from the DC Destroyers, Alantez Fox. And from the Boston Butchers, Francis Hogan.
Thomas O'Toole.
And round 6 was scored 10-9 in favor of Boston for a cumulative score of 59-51 Boston.
Oh, Peter, you called it. Thomas O'Toole did just enough to win round 6, and the Butchers continue to extend their lead now 59-51 as we get to the end of the launch rounds. Francis Hogan, Frank the Tank from the Boston Butchers, light heavyweight from nearby Weymouth, Mass, taking on Alantez Fox, the very seasoned pro. Alantez Fox is 28-6-1, fighting out of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. 2-1 last year with TCL.
Another lefty from Boston. Francis got his start down at my gym in Southie back in the days. And
you know a lot about that punching power that Hogan has.
He's grown up to be quite a fighter.
Yeah, 16-0 right now in his pro career. Has 14 wins by knockout. Very tricky southpaw. Both guys very tall and lanky. Alantez Fox, many of you may remember him from 2017 when he went the distance with Demetrius Andrade, really one of the more notable fights of his career. So he's been around a long time, very durable, very sturdy veteran. A tough challenge for Hogan here.
Big, I know Francis is a big kid, but
he's very big. Yeah, I mean, Fox has that size advantage. He looks like, I mean, he looks more like a light heavyweight than Francis Hogan does, even though they're competing in light heavyweight. But Hogan typically really, start out as a middleweight, now more or less campaigning at 68. So this is a leap up in size for him.
Yeah, they're going at it.
Yeah. Fox looks pretty good early on here, putting together some combinations. Now, what does Hogan have to do here to close this gap, Peter?
No, he's got to come forward, drop into the body, and finish up top. I think if he can just drop in, shoot that straight left hand in, finish with the right hook up top.
Fox is one of the more accomplished fighters on this Destroyers roster. They're really leaning on him to get a round back for him. It's been a long time since they've won. They haven't won a round since round 2. They've dropped the last 4, and it's allowed the Butchers to pull away a little bit, including 2 10-7 rounds during this launch round process. So right now it's 59-51. Fox looking pretty good here. It's a good shot for Fox in this final minute to maybe put an exclamation point on this round and slowly get the Destroyers back into it.
Hogan's banging right back. He's doing everything he can to stay in it. Now it looks like he's pressing forward a little bit. There we go, dropping into the body.
There it is. That's
Just
what you
gotta
called
finish up
for, yeah.
top.
Hogan's a local iron worker in Weymouth. More than 100 amateur fights before he turned pro. Lost a ton of them and said he learned so much from that process. And as you said, really has grown into an elite pro at this point.
Yeah, he's traveled around with his family
Yeah.
and fought and all over the country.
Final 30 seconds here of round 7. Hogan and Fox. Fox trying to get a point back for the Destroyers. It's been a while since they've scored one. And now is Jennifer Miranda in fight 2 against Melanie Costa. Fox doing some good work here with Hogan against the ropes. And it's a big step up for Hogan. I mean, if this were a 8-10 round fight, this would be a real tough battle against a veteran like Fox. And there is the bell. So good round for Fox. I think he gets the slight edge there and is probably going to get that point back for the Destroyers.
Yeah, you might see that size difference was an edge for Fox.
That's the takedown from our last fight with Thomas O'Toole. And here's some of the action from Hogan and Fox. Fox is really adept at getting out of the way, putting some combinations together.
The last bout of the launch rounds from the DC Destroyers, Jacob Branch, and from the Boston Butchers, Tim Hatfield. The scores are in from round number 7. The judges scored that 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers. Total score currently 68-61 in favor of the Boston Butchers.
You called it, Mike.
Yep, as expected, Alantez Fox gets the W there for the Destroyers. So it's now 68-61, Butchers still in front. And now we move on to the final round of our launch rounds. Timothy Hatfield, the heavyweight, former college football standout at Brown University, taking on Jacob Branch, who is making his TCL debut or pro debut in any form. Another one of those fighters that Barry Hunter has brought in, relative unknown on this circuit, but a big, strong heavyweight nonetheless, and he's going to try to bring it to Timothy Hatfield. Hatfield has not fought in any capacity since March of 2022 when he suffered his first career loss to Quentin Sumter in Rhode Island.
So this is a way back for him. Get back
It
in
is.
there. And
Hatfield was a very accomplished high school and college football player, heavily recruited out of high school in Colorado, where he was born and raised. Moved to Rhode Island to attend Brown University.
Oh, wow.
Had a great football career and decided he wanted to get into boxing. And he's actually a prospective medical school student as well.
Wow.
So I wonder, why do you want to do this?
That's impressive.
Go be a doctor.
He's
However, Hatfield, he has that bug for it,
He's
Peter.
a fan of the Klitschko brothers.
Yeah. This is probably the closest we've had to any feeling out, really, in any of these fights. This first minute and a half here. It's still anybody's round.
Yeah, it's with the heavyweights. You're waiting for that KO.
And if you're Hatfield, you'd love to close it out on a positive note for the Butchers. And if you're the Destroyers and you're Jacob Branch, get another point back. Get a little momentum going into that break between the launch and the middle rounds. It's far from over. Even though the Butchers have that 7-point lead, it's still far from over. You can erase that in 3 rounds. So it's still anybody's contest. And still anybody's round here in round number 8. It's Hatfield and Branch still seemingly trying to get their timing down, Peter.
I'm a hometown boy, but Branch has a little bit of an edge. I think he's looking to land that right hand, just got to set it up. But Hatfield's doing good with the jab. He's keeping him off with the jab, keeping him honest.
It's one of those formats, Peter, where you don't have a lot of time to search YouTube for a fight video and really learn a lot about your opponent.
Right.
It's just kind of a 3-minute crash course once that bell rings. Branch trying to be more of an aggressor here, Peter.
Their corner's calling him in. They're telling him to come forward,
Yeah.
put the pressure on him. So his corner's giving him good advice.
It's a good time to start doing that. Final 25 seconds or so of this 8th round, and if the Destroyers can pick this one up, gives them a little momentum going into the middle rounds.
Good exchange there from Hatfield. I'd like to see Hatfield move his head a little bit when he's done punching, because he's just getting
more of
out
a
of the way with those
stationary
hooks.
target at times.
Oh.
We want to remind everybody, as this round comes to a close, if you are watching us for free on YouTube and you want to see the rest of this action, log on to teamcombatleague.tv, purchase a Brawl Pass to continue watching all of tonight's action. So our first 8 rounds on YouTube for free are in the books. Got to pay to play if you want to see the rest of it. So hopefully on teamcombatleague.tv you join us for the rest of the night. Peter Welch and Michael Parenti, we would love to have you in our corner throughout. What a great start to this contest. We find out who won this 8th and final round of the launch rounds.
Do I make a prediction, Mike, on that one?
Sure.
Yeah, I think DC edged them out.
I think so too.
I think they got a little momentum. DC
was scored 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers.
And there it is.
Your current score after the first 8 rounds, the launch rounds: Boston 77, DC Destroyers 71.
So 77-71 in favor of the Butchers after the launch rounds. You really couldn't ask for a better start from Boston, who really came out strong. It started with that Irving Gonzalez fight, Peter, that I think really set the tone. Irving Gonzalez came out there in under 40 seconds, just absolutely flattened his opponent and got the Butchers a quick 10-7 lead. And that, it's really rolled from there. Even with those Destroyer victories in between, the Destroyers are really just chipping away with the 10-9 wins, while as the Butchers have had 2 10-7 rounds. And that's really what's created this 6-point gap, if you think about it.
It is a team game, and like in baseball, base hits, get on base, score runs. So they may have a pretty good strategy to DC. I see them all gathering. They're in a little bit of a huddle, so they might be game planning.
There's some of the headlines there. You see that big knockout by Irving Gonzalez that kicked off the show and kicked off the season for the Butchers. And here was the fight number 2. Jennifer Miranda, the veteran from Spain, really just kind of controlled the pace against Melanie Costa. And that's where the Destroyers got their first victory. And then from there, the Butchers went on a nice little run here. First, you see Alejandro Paulino against Breedy. Very tough test for Paulino, but he got the victory. And then Rashidi Speedy Ellis, as we're about to see in the 4th fight, who pulled away and did just enough against David Gray. And, I'm sorry, my apologies. Amelia Moore and Natalie Brown was the next fight here. And Amelia Moore, veteran amateur fighter, really showed her pedigree there. And there's Rashidi Ellis going to work against David Grayton, scoring the knockdown there.
Speed and power, Rashidi.
And Ellis scored 2 knockdowns, including one in the closing 10 seconds to nab that 10-7 round for the Butchers, which was a real big turning point for Boston, allowing them to widen that gap over the Destroyers. And as we mentioned, one quick knockdown like that can change the entire course of the scoring and the way the rest of the matches are fought. And as we know, going into this, as we take a look at Thomas O'Toole against Demetrius Ballard, as we get into these middle rounds now, Peter, it's going to really change the strategy for the Destroyers, who are going to need to quickly catch up and try to get back into this. But in any event, Francis Hogan went in there against Alantez Fox. Fox, one of the more veteran, established fighters on this Destroyer roster. He got the Destroyers back into it toward the end here in fight 7. And there you saw in that heavyweight battle, Jacob Branch just narrowly edging Tim Hatfield to get the 10-9 round. So the Destroyers ended on a solid note with back-to-back victories to get those 10-9 points back. They still trail by 6 going into the middle rounds. We want to thank our sponsors, Woodcrafted American Two Trees Whiskey, bringing you all the action here tonight, and of course Venom. So much more action to come, and I'm really excited for what's going to be in store. But for now, before we get into the middle rounds here, the next 8, we're going to take an opportunity to send it down to our ringside correspondent, Ron Borges, who's going to have some interviews with us. One more look at the score here. Once again, Boston Butchers 77, DC Destroyers 71 as we wrap up the launch rounds. Peter, who stood out to you the most?
Who stood out? First fight.
Yeah.
The first fight, that KO was really good. Get us off in the right direction.
Irving Gonzalez, with that big knockout in the first fight, really set the tone for how these launch rounds went for the Butchers. We want to remind everybody again, subscribe now for a Brawl Pass on teamcombatleague.tv to make sure you can join us for the middle and the money rounds. And for now, we're about to send it down to Ron Borges, our ringside correspondent. He's going to have some interviews for us in just a moment, but we're waiting for the cue to get it over to Ron. But as you see, some of the fighters still hanging out ringside, trying to strategize. And with that, let's send it down to Ron, who's got some special guests in the ring.
And I think I'm allergic to suckers, you making me sneeze. Them out for blood and I'm making them bleed. You try to run and I'm breaking your knee. I made them fall like I'm ranking the league. You know I ball like I play for the league. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. I ain't no joke, we ain't making no memes. If I pull up on them, I'm making that scene. Then I'm making them scream. Straight from the bricks, I need a lick. I drink the body since I was a kid. Unlit, how can I miss? Came from the bottom and got me a check. I'm a threat, I got a flex. You want the crime but don't know what it takes. I am built different, I'm not what you think. I cannot lose, I go out with a bang. I hope you never say my name in vain. I'm with whatever, just not for no games. I know they say I change, I cannot say the same. I bet they want me shackled, they're locked in the chains. I guess that's just what happens with bad news. So my mama, I never been fragile. I'm the wrong with the with this taboo. Turn you to R.I.P. tattoo. Still a youngin' but feel like a OG. Can't forget all the that they told me. Tired of thinking that they know me. You gon' turn me back into the old me. You gon' turn me back into a savage. I done did what you couldn't imagine. Leveled up and then bought me a mansion. I can never go back to what has been. I can never go back to the old days. No way, back to walking to work on a cold day. Back to thinking my ex was my soulmate. Back to telling myself it'll be okay. We'll be okay. We're surviving no rhyming and OJ. Shorty paying the bills, I had no say. I can never go back to the bottom. To the bottom. Selling drugs up and know when the cops come. Jealous and wanted to rob us. I was just trying to give me some dollars. Couple dollars. Turn my pennies from hundreds to common. I'm so happy them days are behind us. I ride by different spots, I get flashbacks. I can't get on your level, I'm past that. Watch me run that up, I can't go back to none. Trying to get to the top of the world. My went crazy, walked in this corner and seen someone girl. All that spinning block, that's a little boy. We catching, we rocking this world. I let everybody have their fun with me. Never had
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check, check.
Working now on the company. I keep money coming in constantly. My little brother don't be having runs. She trying to get it, I've been on the run for weeks. I think none of you come for me.
Where was Irving Gonzalez? You know, Mickey was always kind of a bit of a slow starter. Is this the kind of league for you, this combat league?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's a great concept. I think it's quick, it's fast. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be great for me because I was a slow starter when I fought, but I think this is great and it's competitive and, you know, it's like in and out, It's great. It's busy and it's a lot of action.
Well, it's interesting in that first fight, you know, Boston gets the knockout win. They win the first round. They're up by several points right off the bat. What do you think the strategy has to be for DC now to get back into this thing because they're down a number of points?
Well, it's not that. I mean, you get a couple stoppages or whatever, something like that. They come right back. I mean, I don't think they're out of it by no means. I think it's very competitive. Washington's a great team, and I'm sure they're going to make it competitive.
For you as a guy who's, you know, fought till you were 38, obviously, you know, in some of the biggest shows, what do you think this kind of league, the Combat League, brings to these younger fighters in particular, where it's so difficult to get exposure?
Right, it's good. It's great. It's because it's great for guys that that are at the end of their career and they can do it, or a guy that's early in their career that can do it. You know, so it's for everybody. So it's good experience for a younger fighter, and it's a good for an older fighter to just keep his career going.
Do you think there's an edge for the younger fighter who tends to be, you know, more jumpy at the start of the fight, aggressive, he's coming forward? Do you think that younger guy has an edge, or is the older, more experienced fighter able to use that against?
I'd say the more non-experienced fighter, but the guy that's throwing more punches and guy's more busy, probably the younger guy that's throwing all the punches and stuff like that. You know, an old veteran, it's a little bit harder because he's so used to coming on later, like myself or whatever. But you know, you just got to start faster, and you got to be careful. You got to keep the hands up high because It's only one round and you're coming out with bombs.
Do you think, obviously boxing is really the loneliest sport there is in many ways, as you know. You get up in the morning or you don't. You run or you don't. You train or you don't. You fight alone. This concept is different. They train together like a team. They come here as a team to support each other. What do you think the advantage is for a team kind of concept like this?
I think it's great because you're constantly around your other teammates and they're building you up, picking you up. So I think it's great to have them have your back because a lot of times you're like training by yourself or doing whatever, and you have all guys behind you. Come on, let's go, picking you up. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I think the same is true here as we get in these next 2 rounds. DC's got to come back, but they've got this whole crew of 24 fighters there to cheer each guy on, and you were in a solitary business. Could you describe the kind of difference for you? You're late in a fight and you're down. You're on your own. These guys, if they're late, everybody's trying to lift the next guy up. Is it the kind of thing you think you would have liked, or were you more of the sort of solitary fighter?
No, it depends. If you're in there, what a team or by yourself. When you're in this ring, you're in there by yourself. So you got to fight no matter what, whether you're going 10 rounds or you're going 1 round. So you just got to go in there and give it everything you have. And then when you're in a fight, you got to take it round by round a lot of times, you know what I mean? But a lot of times you take time off and you wait to the end. But right here, it's good. You just got to go out there and fight.
Well, that's the essence of Micky Ward. You got to go there and fight. He did it his whole career, and now these kids are doing this tonight in the combat league. Back to you, Michael.
He let you in. Oh, good.
Okay.
Was he being kind of a ball buster, Pete? Nova? Yeah.
We are back ringside for Team Combat League. The Boston Butchers taking on the DC Destroyers here on TeamCombatLeague.tv. Michael Parenti joined by Peter Welch, Ron Borges, of course, our ringside correspondent. Just wrapping up with Micky Ward, a veteran of many pro fights, who is loving this concept, very different than from what Micky Ward is certainly used to in the ring. And you saw a little bit of perspective there from the great one, Micky Ward, on this new unique team boxing format. Once again, the Boston Butchers had a great start in the launch rounds, grabbing a 77-71 lead as we get ready for the middle rounds. And so it's going to be a lot of catching up on the part of the DC Destroyers as we head to the next 8, these middle rounds, which are going to be so crucial before we get to the final 8. And this, Peter, is where the Destroyers really need to make some head ground here and get back into this contest.
Yeah, you can make a move, get some momentum, just like they did the first 8. And let's see if we can get another knockout right out of the gate. Mickey was funny. He talked about being a slow starter. And
hello, everyone.
but I'm sure
I normally
he'd be right on it. He would come out and
but we got legends
make
in
his
the house
mark
tonight in Boston. I'm a huge fan of these gentlemen, so I said I gotta do this interview myself. And by the way, this is my first ever interview. But I got these 2 legends in the ring right here. This man is Harry O. He's the partner in Death Row Records with Snoop Dogg himself. Harry O, give him a big round of applause. And we're on the East Coast, and if you know anything about East Coast, hip-hop, rap music started right here on the East in New York. And one of the founding fathers, one of the iconic members of hip-hop is here. And this is no other than Eric B. You guys know Eric B and Rakim. He brought out the greatest lyricists in hip-hop history, Mr. Eric B. First, Mr. Eric B. Welcome to Team Combat League, sir. How are you enjoying the night?
It's a great day, man. Anytime you see somebody fighting and I'm not fighting, it's a great day.
What do you think about the concept? In case you guys don't know, last year was our season 1. This is season 2. Last year in season 1, the New York City Attitude were the champions. They won the championship. So right now, New York has the best fighters. But Boston's putting up a good case to have the best boxers tonight. What do you think, Eric?
Boston always comes back. You can never put them down. They're always going to come back out of the blue. So it's a great fight. I want to see New York and Boston fight.
Hey guys, you heard it. He said he's gonna attend the Boston-New York Showdown. Everyone, Eric B will be at the Boston-New York Showdown. I'll put you on the spot, sir, but I had to do that.
Definitely I'm here. Definitely I'm here.
All right, now we'll move over to Harold O. Harold, Harry O, you know about boxing. You're a big boxing advocate. What do you think about Team Combat League, sir?
Hey, TCL is the future. Yeah, this is a great night, man. I see how you guys put this together, and anytime you bring a team effort to something, and you get that kind of energy, this is the new way. This is what boxing has been looking for. Something where people can all participate and you can bring families out. That this is what's been missing in the community, to have this type of entertainment, and you guys are doing a great job. You know a little bit about entertainment, brother, and this is good entertainment.
Thank you, sir. I mean, thing is, that's why we started TCL. We love the great sport of boxing. We're just an alternative thing for the fans and for the teams and for the cities to get involved. So, Mr. Harry O, do you like the action? What do you think about the actual fighters and the action you're seeing?
You got some skillful guys here, and women. Look, I've been in a lot of I've been in a lot of fights myself, but I've actually seen great fighters come and go. But what I saw here tonight, this is the future of boxing. That's what I envisioned for you guys. They was really talented, real focused, and trying to win for the team and win that bag.
Yes, sir. And I know you owner of Death Row Records, the Los Angeles Elite. That's what they're called. They're purple and gold like the Lakers. They fought in Philadelphia last night. We got to make sure you support the LA team, because West Coast is normally the best coast, but the East Coast is killing things right now, Philly and Boston.
I know where I'm at, but you know we gonna back that LA team, but they got to come with it. You know what I'm saying? You know, East Coast, West Coast right here, baby, to show you that love, you know?
And we got to ask one of the world famous trainers for Logan Paul. We got to ask Milton how he feels about it.
Yes, this is Milton, world famous trainer, trained so many champions. Lonnie Smith Sr., just so many different guys. He trains Logan Paul right now. You guys all know Logan Paul? He's Logan Paul's coach. Coach, what do you think about tonight? What do you think about Team Combat League?
Well, let me tell you something. It's exciting. That one round, get in and get out. When you watch a regular fight, it gets a little boring sometimes. You just can't wait to get the hell out of there. But here, you just can't wait for the next fight to happen, because you don't know what's going to happen, because it goes right away, bam, bam, bam. And that's exciting. It's excitement. It's enjoyable. It makes you want to sit there and come to the fights now. Because let me tell you something. This thing is the best lead I've seen in boxing so far. Besides Jake Paul, getting ready to fight Mike Tyson.
Thank you guys so much. We're going to get this action kicked back off. The middle rounds will be starting soon. Boston, like I said, this is our first sellout ever. Thank you guys so much for being here. Represent Team Combat League. The Butchers on their way. DC Destroyers, let's go.
Journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new value. When all is ready, I throw this switch. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume. Pump that bass.
You make me feel so good.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin from our all-less podcast board.
Oh my gosh. The music just turns me on.
Fight fans, who's ready for the middle rounds? Let's welcome the DC Destroyers and the Boston Butchers to the ring.
Thinking of a master plan. This ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, still coming up with length. So I start my mission, leave my residence. Thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I think of all the devious things I did. Probably not. I used to roll up, this is a hole up. Ain't nothing funny, stop smiling. Still don't nothing move but the money. But now I learn to earn cause I'm righteous. I feel great, so maybe I might just search for a 9 to 5. If spot drive, then maybe I'll stay alive. So I walk up the street, whistling this, feeling out of places, man, do I miss a pen and a paper, a stereo, a taper. Me and Eric being a nice big plate of fish, which is my favorite dish. But without the money, it's still a wish. Cause I don't like to dream about things, so I dig into
Here in the middle rounds, in the heavyweight division, representing the DC Destroyers, Colby Madison. And his opponent for the Boston Butchers, Cassius Cheney. In the light heavyweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Nasheed Smith. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Thomas O'Toole. Also in the light heavyweight division from the DC Destroyers, Charles Cox. His opponent from the Boston Butchers, Miguel Torres. In the middleweight division from the DC Destroyers, Keithland King. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Mike Fontanez. In the welterweight division from the DC Destroyers, Patrick Harris. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Kino Luna. In the lightweight division from the DC Destroyers, Derek Davis. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Elijah Pierso. In the female featherweight division from the DC Destroyers, Jamie Mitchell. And her opponent from the Boston Butchers, Shelly Vincent. In your first fight of the middle rounds, representing the DC Destroyers, Jabali Breedy. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Ricardo Espertin.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to TeamCombatLeague.tv. Michael Parenti joined by Peter Welch and our ringside correspondent, Ron Borges. We thank everybody for staying with us and purchasing a Brawl Pass to watch the remainder of this TCL matchup between the Boston Butchers and the DC Destroyers. You are now watching the middle rounds. Here is bout number 1 of the next 8 in line. Jabali Breedy from the Destroyers, the younger brother of Colby Breedy, who fought earlier tonight, taking on Ricardo Espertin from Worcester, Massachusetts, of the Boston Butchers. Very fast-paced action here so far.
Right out of the gate, action-packed.
Well, Peter, as you mentioned, the Butchers took a 77-71 lead after the launch round, so Destroyers have their work cut out for them to get back in this matchup.
Yeah, they just started off right with Breedy there, double left hand, so he's finding a mark for that left. So look for Ricardo to, try to get back here, get the points back. I think Breedy took a little quick lead.
Very tough 5'1" southpaw from Barbados, and he is bringing it to Espertin, and down goes Espertin, and that's a big surge here for the Destroyers.
That was more than a knockdown. The kid's hurt.
Not only did the Destroyers win the last 2 rounds of the launch rounds, they're coming out with a bang here in the opener of the middle rounds, and this is a big opportunity for Breedy to get the Destroyers right back into this. A stoppage or a knockout results in a 10-7 round, and down goes Espertin again, and that's going to do it. And there you have it. Breedy scores the knockout.
He found a home early for that left hand. Didn't stop, finished him with the right hand.
That is a huge, huge surge for the DC Destroyers, who have now scored the last 5 points dating back to the launch rounds. And all of a sudden, DC is back in this matchup.
They're trying to get him out of there. Commission's trying to get him out. He's pumping his teammates up. You can't blame him. He's excited.
From the DC Destroyers, Jamie Mitchell.
So as we get ready for the second bout of the launch rounds,
Shelly Vincent.
take a look at some of the action here. Peter, what did Breedy do to just get, it's that quickness?
He just found a home for that left hand. He didn't let up. Once he knew he could land that left hand, he just kept at it.
Yeah.
He was smart in his approach.
So now it's 84-81, and suddenly it's a razor-thin margin here for the Butchers as Shelly Vincent making her TCL debut, taking on Jamie Mitchell.
That was it. That was the momentum DC needed. Let's see what happens here.
Shelly Vincent, very experienced pro fighter, 27-2 in her career. She's 45 years of age, fighting out of New London, Connecticut, and her only 2 losses as a pro came to Heather Hardy. One of them on NBC Sports, which was a pioneering fight for women's boxing at the time, fighting on network television. Jamie Mitchell, born in California, now living in the DC area. She's 9-1-2 as a pro. Last fought in March of 2023, so she's had some time off, and so has Shelly Vincent for that matter. She hasn't fought since 2021, so.
Good stand-up. I like her feints. She's setting up that jab. Nice. Good movement.
Vincent's always been a hard-charging fighter. Not a lot of power. Only has 1 knockout on her record. But a very slick boxer, durable. And she would love to get the Butchers back in the win column here in fight 10. Destroyer's on a little bit of a run now. They've cut this thing down. Nice right hand there by Mitchell. Contrast too here, Peter. The women are fighting 3-minute rounds. In pro boxing in this area, they still only fight 2-minute rounds. So it's a different concept, but they train for 3 and they train for beyond. So
it's just a different pace.
Sure.
2-minute round to a 3-minute round.
The pacing, of course, in this entire format, entirely different than what we're used to. 90 seconds to go in fight 10 of 24.
I'd like to see Vincent close a little bit and just take that outside game away from Mitchell. It's the only thing she can do at this point. There she goes, right there. That's what she's got to do, and just stay on her. Land something clean. Just don't stay on the outside where Mitchell can pick her apart.
A lot of experience between these two fighters. Keep in mind, Mitchell's also a former WBA World Bantamweight champion. That's back in 2021, so it shows you the progression in weight classes. Now fighting at featherweight for this
nice
one.
Left hand by Jim Vincent.
Great experience here for Vincent, and of course Mitchell getting back in there for the first time in a little while. Not a lot of time to shake off ring rust, though, huh?
No.
You got to get in there and go. Final 30 seconds, somewhat close here, Peter. Who do you have it going toward right now?
I got to say, I give the edge to Mitchell if I'm calling it right.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd like to see Vincent get the win, but
Mitchell landed a good right on that last exchange. Fights well off the ropes, too. Final 15 seconds. And I tend to agree with you on this one. I think Mitchell's done just a little bit more.
Just controlling the pace, controlling the action, distance.
Vincent trying to let go with a little flurry here in these final seconds, perhaps sway the judges in one direction, but that's going to do it for that one.
That's
so
definitely the way to win the fight, but you got to do more of that.
Sure. It's hard to do that when you're trying to catch up as opposed to just stealing the round. And that may be the different pace there for Shelly Vincent, but it appears anyway that Mitchell may have this one, and this could now be 4 in a row for the Destroyers. Here's some of the action, Peter, in this last fight.
Let's welcome the next fighters to the ring. From the DC Destroyers, Derek Davis. And for the Boston Butchers, Elijah Peugeot.
They don't give you much time to talk about the slow-mo.
It's fast and furious.
Fans, that last round was scored 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers.
All right.
The current score is 93-91 Boston.
Destroyers continue to climb back into it. Now 93-91, so the Butchers' lead, which was once 6 points, is down to 2. Elijah Peugeot for the Butchers. 29-year-old 4-0 lightweight from East Providence, Rhode Island, taking on Jamie Mitchell. 9-1 as a pro. Derek Davis, 3-0 as a pro with 3 knockouts. 6-3 last year for the Destroyers. So Davis has a slight edge in terms of the TCL experience.
Sharpshooter, Davis is.
And he's been more active. Pesho hasn't fought since 2022. He's had some hand injuries that have stalled his progress, unfortunately. But looks good here early on. I tend to get the sense here, too, that the Destroyers have some of their big guns lined up here in these middle rounds. And so
yeah, it looks
perhaps
that way.
not really sweating that early deficit. They feel they can make it up here.
Right.
And then you're setting yourself up for a real barn burner for the final 8 in the money rounds, depending on how these next few go. Davis, the former Silver Gloves and ringside world champion. He's trained alongside the likes of Javante Davis, Adrian Broner, Sean Porter.
Yeah, you can see that big back, walking forward. Good sharp puncher.
Seems like Pesho struggling with the pacing here a bit against Davis. Still has 90 seconds to make something happen. Nice right hand there by Davis over the top.
He's matching the pace, but I think Davis has the sharper shots.
I always wonder in sports if momentum is a thing, and if you're the Destroyers right now and you're on the side watching, you're seeing 3 wins in a row, 4 wins in a row, and perhaps the 5th here as Davis is now taking it to Pesho.
Yeah, he took a shot.
And you look at the Destroyers on the side there, they're celebrating, they're loving it. These guys can't wait to get in the ring next. It really does carry over.
Absolutely.
Final minute now. Pesho's got to pick it up here, otherwise it's going to be another victory for the Destroyers. And also, if you're Pesho, you just want to stay on your feet here, too.
He's taking some hard shots.
Punishment really starting to pile up here, Peter, in the final 40 seconds.
Leo's taking a good look at this.
Yeah. What you don't want is for the Butchers is a knockout here. That would actually put the Destroyers back in front, or in front for the first time in the entire night. So they're getting close. Let's see if Pesho can hang on. Barring a knockout, he's most likely going to lose this round. I don't think there's enough he can do in the final 15 seconds to swing it the other way.
We got
a little mouthpiece incident there. Derek Davis, 21 years of age, fighting out of Fort Washington, Maryland, looking very impressive here.
It's a good break for
Pesho. And again, this is Davis's 10th TCL fight, so he's used to the format. He's been under the lights here before. Not new to this at all. He's really showed it here against Elijah Pesho.
So that's a big factor, him already been through 10 fights.
Yeah, I think so too. The bell rings here on that fight number 10. Sorry, fight 11. And I agree with Peter. I think it is something to be said for having the experience on this platform. All of these guys in some capacity have had fight experience, so this is a very unique format. Here's some of the replay action.
Yeah, the body.
Pesho looked good early, but
the next fighters to the ring in the welterweight
see
division.
the power was the
From the
difference.
DC Destroyers, Patrick Harris, and for the Boston Butchers, Kino Luna.
We'll wait to score and decision before round 12 gets underway.
Fight fans, that round was scored 10-9 for the DC Destroyers. The current score is 102 to 101 in favor of Boston.
So, Peter, again, we've called it right on the head here. 102-101, the Butcher lead down to a point as the Destroyers have won their 5th consecutive round. And now round 12 underway. Kino Luna from Boston taking on Patrick Harris from DC.
You mentioned Devontae Davis and the training partners some of these kids might have.
Yeah.
You're seeing a little bit of that in this middle rounds of these lightweight guys.
And I'll tell you what, too, Peter, the real experienced fighters from DC are all stacked here in the middle. Patrick Harris is 20-0 as a pro. Kino Luna is just 2-0.
Right.
Now, listen, experience means something, so does talent, but Patrick Harris has been here before. He's also 7-3 under the TCL umbrella last year for the Destroyers, so... And he's a 5'8" southpaw. There's a lot working against Luna here. Both southpaws, so that cancels itself out. But a lot of experience on Patrick Harris' side.
Luna's right back at him.
Yeah. Harris is a guy who this format has really worked for because he lost a couple of years of his pro career during the pandemic. One of many fighters who were inactive, and he's picked this up since then and has really found a new home here with the Destroyers. 6-time national champion as an amateur, so there's a strong pedigree.
Yeah, he's looking sharp.
Kino Luna, you know, he was a very accomplished amateur as well, Peter. Competed in the 2024 Olympic qualifiers before turning pro. So It's certainly not one to sleep on his ability. You just wonder if that experience on Harris's side can be a factor. But so far, a pretty close round here with 90 seconds to go.
Luna's doing everything he can to keep him off.
An opportunity here for somebody to get something going and possibly steal this round. Destroyer's trying to even it up here, which didn't seem like a possibility when it was 77-71 Butchers, but here we are.
Yeah, Harris is taking a little bit of an edge by coming forward, landing those shots as he's coming forward. Shows his dodges something.
But like you said, Peter, Luna keeps fighting back as we see a slip there.
Yep.
Final minute here from Oceanside. Rivera, nice shot there by Luna. Again, trying to just hang in here.
They're calling Harris forward. They're telling him to come forward, keep coming forward.
And final 40 seconds, you don't want to give the round away.
Or get caught with a shot.
This is officially the halfway point, by the way. Fight 12 of 24, so.
Luna's finding it a home for the left hand, but that's it. Seems like Harris is putting 2 or 3 shots together like that.
There it is again. Good right hand by Harris. Luna landed on the way out, but Harris has really put it together. And really in the second half of this round, too. So final 10 seconds. It's very possible we could have an even score at the end of this one.
Leo won't hear it.
Come on.
So the bell rings for fight 12. 4 more to go. We are halfway through the middle rounds. And if the Destroyers get the nod here, that'll be 6 in a row for DC. As we take a look back at some of the action.
He knows how to play that game.
Sure. All right. Next combatants are in the ring. As we await the score from that previous bout.
Next in the ring, middleweight division, from the DC Destroyers, Keithlin King, and from the Boston Butchers, Mike Fontanez.
Should be good.
Fans, that last round was scored 10-9 for your Boston Butchers.
Wow. So big win there.
112 to 110 in favor of Boston.
So that makes a big difference. Kino Luna gets the nod, 10-9 in that last round. So now the Butchers get a little breathing room at 112-110, but not by much as we get ready for fight 13. Michael Fontanez, southpaw from Nashville, New Hampshire, 8-0 as a pro, 28 years of age.
We needed that last win, Mike.
Absolutely. Boston certainly needed that to stem the tide as the DC Destroyers were really coming on strong. Keithlin King, another one of the fighters who've been from Barbados, making their way to the DC area, now lives in Virginia. 36 years old. He is 5-2 as a pro, 1-4 last year. He struggled in that TCL format, but again has the experience. Had a long layoff from the pro game and then has already fought 3 times this year after the TCL season. So King's been incredibly active, almost slipping there against the ropes.
Is he hurt there? Did he
Hard
get
to tell
caught
if
with
he
a couple
slipped or
of
got
shots?
hurt, yeah.
He's pretty awkward. He wings his shots. Can't tell if he's off balance.
Fontanez working the body, then back upstairs. King fighting back.
Yeah, he's a banger. He's a one-round fighter for sure.
Fontanez, a 2-time New England Golden Glove champion. Ranked him on the top 10 nationally in his weight class before turning pro. Very accomplished amateur. He's made his home here in Massachusetts as a pro. All of his fights have been in Massachusetts, including tonight here in Revere, Mass. Now trying to bring the action to Keithlin King. 90 seconds to go in this round.
The King is tough.
King had a very lengthy amateur run where he competed in the Olympic trials in 2008, 2012, and 2016.
For Barbados?
Yeah, for Barbados. Also competed in the Youth Summer Olympics in Puerto Rico in 2010 where he won a bronze medal. So very accomplished as an amateur before making his pro debut a little bit later. A little bit of a late bloomer as a pro at 36 years old now with only 7 pro fights. But again, one of many fighters who found a home under this TCL format.
You may see some international
Sure.
fighters coming over to join the TCL.
And this could be something that revives careers. When there aren't options at the pro level, there's an opportunity here.
Right.
Final 45 seconds of bout 13. Once again, Michael Parenti, Peter Welch on TeamCombatLeague.tv. We thank you for joining us as always. Nice left hand.
This was close up until that point.
Yeah. Fontanez
might have him going.
I think he's landed the better of the shots here in those last few seconds, and now he's really starting to close the gap on King.
Yeah, King's, not only is he tired from winging those shots, but I think he's hurt.
Big right hand, too, by Fontanez. So this is a very big surge here. If what we
10 seconds.
believe is true.
Look at Fontanez wants it. Yeah, let's go.
Fontanez unloading with King against the ropes here in the final 10 seconds. King a little bit wobbly, and that's going to do it.
Fight.
I'll tell you what, Peter, I agree with you. I think those last 45 seconds may have sealed it for Fontanez.
Yeah, it was close up until that point. I almost gave King the edge up until that exchange.
Take a look at some of the replay action. This is exactly what the Butchers needed after Kino Luna got a point back. And now it appears Fontanez has done the same, and maybe the Butchers can start building back that lead slowly.
And this is where a kid like Fontanez, he only has one round to showcase his skill. He was clearly more skilled than King was, but King was a banger.
Sometimes you got to know when to empty that tank, and it looks like Fontanez did it as we get ready for bout number 14. King being helped out of the ring, a little bit wobbly. He was definitely hurt there toward the end, no question about it.
Hurt and a little bit tired.
Sure.
The next fighter to the ring from the DC Destroyers, Charles Cox, and for the Boston Butchers, Miguel Torres. Fight fans, that last round was scored 10-9 in favor of your Boston Butchers. The current cumulative score, 122 to 119 in favor of Boston.
So the Butchers trying to build a new streak of their own. They now have opened up a 122-119 lead here in the middle rounds. We get ready for round 14. Miguel Torres, the light heavyweight from Dorchester, Mass, taking on Charles Cox, light heavyweight from Barbados, another one of those fighters from the Barbados to DC pipeline that Barry Hunter has established.
That's a scary thought. They stop bringing guys in
Sure.
now, right?
They certainly see something there in the talent in these fighters.
I got to give you a little glimpse onto Torres' character. I see him coming out of the health center the other day, and he got hit to the ribs.
Oh, boy.
So he had an injury to his ribs, and I knew he had the fight coming up. I said, don't tell anybody. And here he is.
Here we go.
He's here, and he showed up because he knows that's his job. He don't want to let his team down.
Torres last fought in February, Mohegan Sun for CES Boxing. He lost a close fight to James Maynor, and that was his first career loss as a pro. Charles Cox has yet to fight as a pro, but very accomplished amateur in Barbados. Fell just shy of medaling at the Pan Am Games, and now he sends Cox, or Torres rather, crashing into the canvas. And Torres is very wobbly here, Peter.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it. They're going to wave it off. And now,
he stopped it.
That's a big, big turn of events for DC, which is now even the score with a 10-7 round. So Torres knocked out, had trouble getting to his feet. He was a bit wobbly, and just as we're talking about Charles Cox's amateur pedigree, he lands the finishing blow.
Wow.
So there's a win there for the Destroyers, 10-7, exactly what they needed to stop that mini surge by the Butchers. And now here we are, we're dead even after 14 fights. Here's some of the replay, Peter.
Well, he's checking from that distance.
Oh, yeah.
Hits him with a clean right hand from that distance.
Your next contestants from the DC Destroyers, Nasheed Smith, and for the Boston Butchers, Thomas O'Toole. Fans, that last round was scored 10-7 in favor of the DC Destroyers. The current score is 129 to 129. This match is currently tied.
Wow. So this is what you want, Peter. This is what the format allows for. Even when you think you're too far behind, all it takes is a couple of big 10-7 rounds and you're right back in it.
Wow.
And the Destroyers have had two since the initial surge by the Butchers. And here we are, 129 apiece as we go back to the heavyweight division. Cassius Chaney from New London, Connecticut, 36 years of age, taking on Nasheed Smith, who's only 23 years old. So very big contrast here in age.
No, you love the fights, but you love the money line, too.
Yeah. I apologize. That's Thomas O'Toole and Sheed Smith, not Cassius Chaney. I'm skipping. I'm jumping ahead a bit here.
Now the DC Destroyers are going to look to blitz O'Toole, keep that momentum going.
Sure.
Expect O'Toole to stay long.
And keep in mind, O'Toole already fought earlier in the night, so not to say there's fatigue there, but he already had a fight. Now, Sheed Smith is coming in fresh, so you wonder, like you said, Peter, if the game plan is to charge at him right away, he may not have a lot left in the tank after that first round. But O'Toole, after getting the W first time around, is trying to make it 2-0 tonight. And here we go, round 15. We are more than halfway through, and we have one more to go here in the middle rounds. O'Toole coming out firing against Nasheed Smith. We already ran down the credentials for Thomas O'Toole.
It's a good technique, good strategy
Sure.
to just push the guys down if they're trying to push you up on the ropes.
Two very tall, lanky fighters. Nasheed Smith, 6'2", 23 years old, fighting out of DC. He was 5-3 last year with TCL, so he has the experience on this platform as well, which is the one slight edge that the Destroyers do have, is that several of these fighters were on the team last year in Season 1. Five-time national champion is Smith, and finished his amateur career ranked #1 in the country, participated in the Olympic trials, the two-time junior Olympic champion, Golden Glove national champion, so very strong pedigree, and actually competed in TCL before he made his professional boxing debut in November.
Wow.
So this is very interesting. Fighters are actually possibly using this almost as a warm-up between the amateur and pros. It's almost like a semi-pro kind of style.
Like a farm system.
Sure. So Smith has a strong pedigree. Obviously, so does O'Toole, and this is a very interesting swing bout right now because it's 129 apiece, and whoever wins this one maybe takes a little momentum. You have two more to go before the next break, so.
With a kid like that who has that amateur pedigree, to come out of that, to take the headgear off, the
Sure.
smaller gloves, and just to get a tester to see what it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a good way to get the feet wet without really fully immersing yourself,
Right.
and that's what Smith has done. And he's already 2-0 with 2 knockouts as a pro. Anybody's round here with 1 minute to go. And a big opportunity in this fight and the next for somebody to take a small or even maybe mid-sized cushion going into those money rounds. You'd much rather be fighting from ahead than behind.
Thomas is fighting smart. Walking him back, pinning him on the ropes.
45 seconds to go. Maybe we see what we saw in the Mike Fontanez fight where he kind of won that round in the last, 40 seconds or so.
Yeah.
And each fighter has an opportunity to do the same here.
We got 30 seconds left, right?
That's it. You want to see somebody pick up the pace and try to take this round by the horns. A very closely contested 3 minutes. Be very interesting to see how the judges score this one because I don't really know. I could go either way here.
It's really close.
Yeah. Final 10 seconds. So a very close match in what is a very important one as well with the score even at 129 apiece. So Thomas O'Toole and Nasheed Smith go all 3 rounds.
That was dangerous for both guys,
Sure.
swinging punches like that in the end.
It'll be very interesting to see how this one is scored as we wait our final bout of the middle rounds. 2 big heavyweights stepping into the ring tonight. Cassius Chaney.
Welcome to the ring, the heavyweights, in the last bout of the middle rounds. From the DC Destroyers, Colby Madison, and for the Boston Butchers, Cassius Chaney. Fans, the winner of round number 15 was Boston.
All right, Thomas
The
O'Toole.
current score is 139 to 138, Boston.
O'Toole nabs his second win of the night to put the Destroyers, or rather the Butchers, back in front, 139-138. So big opportunity in this heavyweight fight for Cassius Chaney. to maybe build that lead back a little bit before we get into the money rounds as he takes on Colby Madison. Two very experienced fighters. Madison, 40 years of age, made his comeback in January. He has lost his last 3 as a pro, making his TCL debut tonight. Chaney 23-1 out of New London, Connecticut. Very tall, 6'6" heavyweight, big puncher, 16 knockouts on his record, so big opportunity. Chaney has several one-punch knockouts, too, on his record. In fact, his last fight against Trevor Bryan was a big one-punch knockout win in November, which sent Bryan out of the arena on a stretcher. So in this kind of format, guys with that kind of speed, you know, the hand speed and the power can really benefit. You get a big, you land one shot, it's 10-7, and you take it to the bank.
Yeah, and that's your tiebreaker right there. You put him on the end.
And you take that kind of cushion going into those final 8 fights. Boy, that'd be big for the Butchers if they were up 4 instead of maybe 2 or even. But we'll see. Colby Madison, if he has something to say about it, we'll try to get the Destroyers even.
You know, the fights are great. I didn't anticipate the scoring.
Sure.
Being like watching another game.
It really is.
You watch the fights and you're watching the score.
And it plays into strategy. It's a storyline to follow as the match goes along. Well, what is this guy going to do next? And how do you chip away at this lead? And do you chip away slowly? Do you try to go for the big home run? You know, it's really up to the coaches to sort of dictate that to their fighters and their team. And we've seen surges from both sides, interestingly enough. The Butchers had a great start in the launch rounds, and the Destroyers have been significantly stronger here in the middle rounds. However, the Butchers can close out on a positive note here. And Chaney and Madison still have 60 seconds here to do something.
I'd like to see that big right hand, huh? From Chaney.
Chaney was a great basketball player, too, in college. Went to the University of New Haven. Picture him hitting the glass, right? Pulling down some rebounds.
He does have the size for it, for sure.
His only career loss was in 2021 to George Arias, and he regretted it. Didn't really perform the way he had wanted to, and could very well be looking at a 24-0 record, and a guy who could be in line for a big opportunity. You know how heavyweight division is right now. They are looking for good, talented fighters with big records, and Chaney's one of them.
Well, he can get some reps here, stay in
Sure.
and out of the game.
30 seconds to go here. It's another very close round, and you wonder if Chaney's just trying to find an opening for that one shot, if he's maybe relying on it too much.
I think he's waiting for Dave Madison to expose himself.
I think you're right. I agree. And maybe tough here for these final 10 seconds. Be very interesting again to see what the scorecards say. We weren't really sure how the last one would go. It ended up going in O'Toole's favor to give Boston the lead. And now this final round of the middle rounds is in the books. And we'll once again wait to see what happens here. Will this be even going into the money rounds, or will we have a 2-point edge for the Butchers? Very, very big swing round here.
That might have been an example of slow starters.
Sure.
You know, when you don't see a lot, they're looking for their opening, and it just doesn't
come all the time, right? All right, so the middle rounds are in the books as we await the decision.
And they do. They do a break.
Right, fans, that round was scored 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers.
Wow.
Heading into the money rounds, we are tied at 148.
So very interesting. The Destroyers and Colby Madison get that last round.
I guess I didn't see that, Mike.
You know, it's very close. It was hard to determine who had the edge there, but at the end of the day, Colby Madison gets the nod on the card. Not quite sure how they determined that or why, but at the end of the day, it's now 148 apiece. As we go into the final 8 rounds, this is highly anticipated and as action-packed as you could ask for as we take a look back at some of the action early on there.
That was a good
Jabali Breedy really got it started for DC with that knockout win over Ricardo Espertine, and that's what really started the ball rolling for DC here in these middle rounds.
Is that the Barbados connection there?
Yeah, part of that Barbados connection, and then Shelly Vincent trying to get the point back. It became very tough sledding here in these middle rounds for the Boston Butchers. Jamie Mitchell got the nod over Shelly Vincent, and then as you see some of the action from that female featherweight fight. And then you had Elijah Pacho for the Butchers against Derek Davis, and Derek Davis ended up getting the nod using that size and experience to his advantage. So you had that stretch there, where the Destroyers got right back in it, and all of a sudden this became a close, evenly matched contest where now each round is even more important than the last one. And then you had Kino Luna in the welterweight division against Patrick Harris. Again, Patrick Harris using his tremendous experience and edge in veteran ring savvy to get the nod over Luna. And it really didn't start turning around, Peter, for the Butchers until this next fight here, Mike Fontanez, who really turned the tide back in the Butchers' favor.
Yeah, Fontanez opened it up. Things seemed to go his way when he started hitting him with clean shots, hitting King with clean shots. And this setup, ooh, what a knockout that was. Jeez.
Charles Cox bringing back another 10-7 round for DC. And again, when you were down 6 at one point, you needed a couple of those to get back into the pace. So with that said, we're going to send it back to our ringside correspondent, Ron Borges, with more fighter interviews.
What's the break like now? What's the break? Which way did you go? Back this way?
Yeah.
Come on now. Jabali Breedy. When the DC team was down, you brought him back on an explosive knockout to tie it up. What did Barry Hunter tell you before your round started?
Barry just called all us in the corner and say, man, we need this. So I just go in there and just do my thing, show my skill, and we execute the knockout. We got it done.
Well, you knew, of course, as soon as that round was over that your team had come back from 6 points down. At the end of the first 8 matches, what was the feeling of the DC team as you were getting ready for that second go-round?
Yeah, it's good. Like, this is my first time being on TCL. I give Barry a good shout-out for bringing me here to showcase my skills. And we here, baby. We getting it done.
We are here. You're certainly in the match now going into the money round. What was your plan when you went in there? What was your approach going to be, and did it change at all once you got him hurt?
Yeah, when I got in there, I just want to see what my opponent, like what he feels like, what he's doing, and then I say, shit, let's go in there and do my stuff. And I just get it done.
Well, and when you get back to your team, back to the bench, what they have to say to you?
Yeah, they like the work. They know my skills, so they know I'm going to get it done. But I want to give a good shout out to Barbados. I'm from Barbados, and my team, we got 3 teammates from Barbados. And I give Barry Hunter a good shout out for bringing me here to show my skills.
There he is, Jabali Breedy. He brought his team back. He's going to make the money rounds really worth some money.
All right, thank you, Ron Borges, who had one of our big winners, Jabali Breedy, who really got things started for the Destroyers in the middle rounds. He scored that knockout victory in the first fight, and at that point that it evened the score. The Butchers had a little surge toward the end, but it was really all Destroyers in those middle rounds. They erased a 6-point deficit, and now we're even at 148 apiece.
Well, in boxing,
going into the huge money rounds. Let's send it back to Ron Borges.
We talk a lot about closing the show. Well, Irving Gonzalez opened the show with a bang knockout. What was your mindset going in, and were you surprised that you got on him so quickly and got rid of him so fast?
No, I wasn't surprised. You know, I know how much power I can throw with. I want to go in there with the mentality of open up the first round with a bang for my team, and I did exactly that. So they go in there, they just go keep flowing with that momentum.
One of the things that's interesting about this format is you guys had a 6-point lead at the end of the first 8 fights. Now it's a dog fight here going into the money round. Were you over there pleading with your coach, get me in the money round, give me one more shot?
Shit. Oh, excuse my language. I will right now. I'll go wrap up again right now and go back in the ring if they got somebody for me. But, you know, the money round's already picked, so that's not the only thing.
The whole way this combat league works, you can see it in this fight. You guys build an early lead, starting with your knockout. You're up by 6. A lot of people are thinking, well, this thing's over. And the next thing you know, you're tied up and you're starting all over again. You're new to this format. Is that a sort of exciting part for you?
It's definitely exciting. You know, you have to change the way you go into it, the mentality you have to go into that ring. You don't have 4, 8, 10 rounds to go into feeling your opponent, you know. You got to go in there automatically, get right to the point.
Right, and of course now you guys are going into the money rounds, the last 8 fights. Now it's a dog fight. What's the mindset of your team going into these last 8 fights, and what's being said amongst the team?
You know, just going there with the mentality of winning.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. You know, they're gonna come in
All
the next 8 rounds. They're gonna win.
Irving Gonzalez, he opened his show with a bang.
5:30.
knockout, and now we'll see who ends the show tonight. Thanks, Irving.
Ron Borges with Irving Gonzalez, who kicked off this show to big knockout win. So it's worth noting as we go into these money rounds, folks, we are 1 fight short. Stevie Jane Coleman was scheduled to fight Natalie Brown in the female welterweight match. That was going to be the 3rd to last fight, but Natalie Brown suffered a hand injury in her loss to Amelia Moore, so that fight gets scratched. There's no replacement opponent, so Stevie Jane Coleman gets the automatic W. So in theory, while it's tied 148 apiece right now on the scoreboard, DC is going to be a point behind at some point or lose that point. So now they really have 7 rounds to make up a 1-point deficit. And you're going to see some fresh faces here, Peter, down the stretch in these money rounds. James Perella from the Boston Butchers, Francis Hogan, and Tevin Regis will all be fighting for the first time tonight in these money rounds, and a couple of familiar faces. And it's really going to come down, I think, in the beginning. This is going to be really huge. Shelly Vincent and Melanie Costa back-to-back. They lost their fights in the launch rounds. They want to get those W's back and get a little momentum going for the Butchers. That could be real huge there. So we'll see if there's a little extra motivation on their side to get the W and win their rounds. But they're going to have tough sledding. Vincent goes against Jennifer Miranda, and Costa takes on Jamie Mitchell. So that's going to be a real tough order for both. But I'll tell you what now, we're in a situation where it's a dead heat, and this is really what TCL is all about. We'll take a look at our sponsors tonight. American Two Trees Distillery, American Whiskey, Benham Boxing, who is supplying all the gloves for tonight, and Adams Boxing, which supplies some of the best boxing shoes in the industry. So we thank all 3 of those sponsors for supporting us here tonight on TeamCombatLeague.tv. Once again, Michael Parenti joined by Peter Welch. It's been everything that we could ask for, Peter. What are your impressions here seeing the first 16 fights?
I'm blown away by, the scoring.
Yeah.
I didn't even factor that in. I just came here to watch the fights and to call the fights. But the scoring makes it that much more interesting. It gives you that team flavor, and you could see how it would fit into a culture of sports like Boston has. Sure. Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots, Celtics. This fits right in because you're following that score and you're following your favorite fighters at the same time. Action-packed, non-stop, and it's really tight going into these money rounds. So
this is what this is all you could ask for is these last 8 fights to mean something, and they all gonna mean something because we are dead even after the first 2 rounds. And that's really what I love about it the most. And you think about this too, this concept. We talk about team sports, baseball, basketball, football. Well, this is true team sports. All these fighters are from the cities they compete for. Every one of these fighters in the Boston Butchers is from the New England area. Everybody for DC, all but 2 live in the DC area, even though they were born in other countries. But this is their home now.
Right.
This is like a true hometown flair.
Right.
And that really makes it interesting because you really back each other, and you have a true home field advantage when you travel when you're at home.
You hope it stays that way as the competition builds and they stay with that hometown flavor.
So 7 more bouts to go. Unfortunately, the Stevie Jane Coleman, Natalie Brown fight has been scratched, but we're going to have Shelly Vincent and Melanie Costa get back in there. We're going to see the Slim Reaper, James Perella, against Patrick Harris in a real intriguing battle of unbeaten fighters in the welterweight division. And then we have Alejandro Paulino, who had a big win against Kobe Breedy, That's going to be a rematch in the lightweight division. Kevin Regis takes on Derek Davis. Derek Davis got the win in the middle rounds for the DC Butchers, the DC Destroyers rather. And Francis Hogan and Nasheed Smith, another fight to watch. And then closing the show, Rashidi Speedy Ellis against Michael Fox. And you're hoping it comes down to that. If that fight means something, man, that could be an absolute war for 3 rounds.
That's a barn burner for sure.
Thank you once again, everybody, for joining us. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch bringing you all the action throughout the night here on TeamCombatLeague.tv. We thank you for purchasing that Brawl Pass and staying with us.
Okay. Wow. Too exciting. But guess what? We got the last surprise for you all. And this is called the money rounds. Do you guys like money? You guys like money? Yeah, no. Do you guys like money? Yeah? Do you guys like money? I ain't forgetting about you guys. Well, this is the money rounds, and the way it works, these last rounds, the coaches chose their best fighters to come up and compete for the victory. And as you guys know, we have a very close fight. By the way, earlier people thought Boston was gonna run away with the win. And I said, hey, this is only the beginning. DC's strong, and you guys see what I mean. So now it's the money rounds. These are special selections that the coaches chose to bring their team victory. A few people who were in the money rounds got hurt and couldn't continue. That's not the fault of the other team. So in those cases, the team that could not compete automatically loses the round 10-9. So Boston just got 2 rounds at 10-9 off the top.
Wow.
So DC, that means you guys gotta bring it back again, like you're known to do. Here we go. The last selections of the money rounds. I need the 6 from Boston in the ring. I need the 6 from DC in the ring. Let's get this thing going.
Turn up the music 'cause the song just came on. Turn up the music if they try to turn us down. Turn up the music, can I hear it till the speakers blow? Turn up the music, fill your cup and drink it down. It's sexy and you know it. Put your hands up in there. Put your hands up in there. Put your hands up in there. It's sexy and you know it. Put your hands up in there.
Rounds 20 and 22. Those fighters already got knocked out. All right, Boston, Massachusetts, and everybody watching at home on TeamCombatLeague.tv. It is time for the money rounds. The last fight of the evening in the middleweight division from the DC Destroyers, Michael Fox. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Rashidi Ellis. The next fight in the light heavyweight division from the DC Destroyers, Nasheed Smith. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Francis Hogan. In the lightweight division from the DC Destroyers, Derek Davis. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, Kevin Regis. In the welterweight division from the DC Destroyers, Patrick Harris. And his opponent from the Boston Butchers, James Perla. In the female featherweight division from the DC Destroyers, Jamie Mitchell. And her opponent from the Boston Butchers, Melanie Costa. And the first bout of the money rounds in the female featherweight division from the DC Destroyers, Jennifer Miranda. And her opponent from the Boston Butchers, Shelly Vincent.
Michael Parenti and Peter Welch joining you here once again for TCL Boxing. And another editor's note, I guess. President Dewey Cooper breaking the news to us that the Destroyers suffered a second injury tonight. Kobe Breedy, who lost to Alejandro Paulino in the launch rounds, is out. He's hurt. So now the DC Destroyers lose 2 points basically going into the final 6 bouts instead of final 8. So listen, that's how the ball bounces sometimes. Guys get hurt and they don't have a replacement. So the Paulino-Breedy rematch is off, and the Stevie Jane Coleman-Natalie Brown fight is off. So now the Destroyers are in theory down 2 points, and you'll see that updated on the running score clock as we get further along the line. So they need to get back in this quickly. And here in this fight, Jennifer Miranda, with her experience as a pro against Shelly Vincent, this may be one of many opportunities, I think, for the Destroyers to get back in it.
Yeah, she's going to control that pace and the distance and try to keep Shelly outside.
And you saw Miranda in her first match against Melanie Costa in a very similar situation. 2 very similar style fighters in Vincent and Costa. Miranda was able to use that reach and that height. So if she does the same here, it could get the Destroyers back into it a little bit, knowing that they're going to lose 2 points.
Right.
So now it really heightens the sense of urgency for DC. But as we mentioned, they've saved their best, or what they believe is their best, for the end here for these money rounds. So one minute into this one, and Miranda trying to establish the pace against Shelly Vincent. But Vincent's had a storied pro career, fought on some of the biggest stages.
If she could finish, or she could do a little bit of that, what she did in the last fight, the last 10 seconds now, get some momentum going, do it in spots, maybe she can make a difference.
We have 2 female fights back-to-back to open up the money rounds. Melanie Costa will take on Jamie Mitchell next, but right now you're watching Shelly Vincent and Jennifer Miranda. Miranda having a little tougher time with Vincent than Costa in the launch rounds. This is a big one right off the rip again, because DC is down 2 fighters, and they're going to take 2 automatic L's on the 10-9 side. So they really, in theory, have 6 fights to make up 2 points.
She really likes to set that uppercut.
Yeah. Ooh, nice stiff left hand by Miranda. So final minute here. Very close round, Peter.
And she's from Spain,
yes.
Miranda? Yep. That reach and that distance really puts them together nice.
Yeah, she's starting opening up now on Vincent.
Yeah, she hurt her with that hook.
I think these final Vincent bleeding from the nose here. These final 40 seconds may be the difference as Miranda's starting to turn up the pace a little bit. And that's, you talk about money rounds. It's the money time right there, right? Those final 45 seconds. Yeah, Vincent's in some trouble now. This could be a big one for DC.
She can stay on her feet. She avoids the 10-8 and 10.
In DC, you think maybe coming out guns blazing to get one of those 10-8s or 10-7s, knowing that they're losing 2 points.
They stop the clock.
I believe we have a glove issue. Or just a doctor. Yeah, the doctor's going to check out. It's not a glove issue. But Vincent bleeding profusely from the nose here. And Miranda just charging now. Really pouring it on in the final 5 seconds. And by all accounts, that's going to be another win for DC.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Miranda doing exactly what the Destroyers wanted at the start of the money round, as she has money in the bank for DC. and what is more than likely going to be her second win of the night.
Money in the bank is right.
Big
They
time
need it.
performance. They needed it.
The next fighters in the ring from the DC Destroyers, Jamie Mitchell, and for the Boston Butchers, Melanie Costa.
Here's some look back at the action here between Vincent and Miranda. Again, that reach by Miranda, Peter, was the difference.
Yeah. She's got the body for it. She keeps everybody on the outside.
Who now take the lead, 158 to 157.
So as expected, DC gets the round and gets the, for now, lead at 158-157. Another big one here for DC and for Boston, really, as Melanie Costa looks to pick up a dub against Jamie Mitchell. Costa had a tough time in her first fight against the same Jennifer Miranda that we just saw.
She's a little more effective with those punches coming forward now against Mitchell.
And Mitchell's
going to get called for the hold.
Totally different look, obviously, than Miranda.
Yeah. Little pit bulls landing those shots.
Costa coming out, guns blazing, really wanting to get that W back for the Butchers. Mitchell turning it up here against, Costa turning it up against Mitchell. Some nice flurries by the pit bull.
And the fact that she's coming forward, she's pressing the action.
Yeah.
She's opening things up. Nice left hook.
Outstanding first minute for Melanie Costa against Jamie Mitchell. Just what the Butchers needed after the letdown in the previous round. And once again, you're watching round 18 out of 24. We really are in the home stretch here.
That momentum can shift at any time.
Sure. Any team right now at this point, Peter, that gets a stoppage win, I mean, that's a big boost.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a matchup this close. And you know it's in the back of the mind. You don't always want to think knockout, but sometimes you want to think knockout. You get into a situation like this, and you know how big it can be on the scoreboard.
Nice right hand.
Costa really bringing it to Mitchell now. Looks like Costa's cut above the left eye. I don't know if that may have been.
She's cut pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know if that was from a punch or a headbutt.
Maybe
we don't
a
know.
headbutt.
Yeah.
The way they're clashing.
Well, that's a nasty one. Thank God she's only got 60
wouldn't
seconds
stop
to go. Right?
Let
now
him
the
go.
doctor's going to check this out, so this is interesting. This could be a tough break here, in theory, for Boston if the doctor determines she cannot continue. Now it determines whether it's a punch or a headbutt.
Even the momentum, Mike. The momentum she just lost there for the fight.
Looks like they're going to let her go, and it's under a minute to go here, so if Costa can stay out of harm's way, if anything, Costa's still bringing the heat.
Caught her with that hook. That's the difference, is she's catching her with that hook.
Crowd on its feet here. Sold out Oceanside Rivera. Bloody Melanie Costa trying to pick up the round against Jamie Mitchell.
She's bringing it.
Man, hope they've got a good cut man in that corner, because that's a tough one. Imagine that in a first of an 8-round fight.
She wouldn't have been able to fight in the end, the money round.
And the money round, right? If she were fighting, if that had happened in her first fight, that could have changed everything going forward.
I like how she's coming forward, pressing the action.
Costa, a bloody mess, but by all accounts, should get the round here. She's been the aggressor. She's landed more cleanly than Mitchell. And trying to go out with a bang. And there is the bell. What a round for the Pitbull. Bloodied and bruised, but she's going to get the victory.
That was
the crowd loves it. Yeah, they love it. That's what it's all about in this format.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from Melanie Costa and Jamie Mitchell.
She really got the team pumped up.
And you talked about momentum, Peter. That can be what you need. If you take a look at the replay here, now that really motivates the next fighter to want to go out there and follow that act.
Fighters in the ring from the DC Destroyers, Patrick Harris, and for the Boston Butchers, James Perella.
I never anticipated that they would make a difference on the team concept, but she just did. She just shifted the momentum.
Boston.
So Boston, as expected.
Once again tied, 167 to 167.
167 apiece, and this is a big one because the next one's going to be the automatic W, 1 of 2 for the Butchers. So DC really wants this one, and now Patrick Harris and James Perella. These two have combined for 38 wins against 0 losses as pros. You saw how impressive Patrick Harris looked in his first bout. Perella comes in at 18-0. They call him the Slim Reaper at 6 feet tall.
And he's going to keep Harris at bay, try to pick him apart like that. The right hand, piece him up with the left hooks if he opens up.
And we talked about Harris's pedigree, and this could be one of the turning point rounds for DC. This is kind of one of the secret weapons at the back end of these money rounds.
Right.
They're relying on him big time to get him a point. And again, they're going to need it because now the next one's going to be a forfeit in favor of Alejandro Paulino and the Butchers. So it could be a 2-point swing right here if Perella gets him a W. And then it puts all the pressure.
Harris really has to
DC.
work hard to get in on Perella. It's not going to be easy for him.
Yeah, it's a significant height advantage for Perella. Now Harris, the first time around, faced Kino Luna. Big difference in experience. But Perella somewhat can match him in the pro experience department. Perella's come on strong at 18-0. I mean, it just feels like yesterday when he made his pro debut, and he's racked up a lot of wins.
Yeah, and he himself, he has an amateur pedigree. He's got over 150 amateur fights.
This is one of those fights we looked at the beginning, and as it turns out, luckily for us, it's a big, big swing bout here in these money rounds.
It's very technical.
And so far, it's a dead heat here in the first 90 seconds. Nice shot there by Perella. Good opportunity now for these final minute and a half for someone to take this round.
Harris has to make a desperate jump in or make a desperate move to get in like that.
Yeah.
And step in with the left hand.
And that's where timing is an issue, right, Peter?
Yeah,
you just can't wait till the next round. You got to get it done now.
Get it done. Swing and a miss by Harris.
Final 50 seconds, and it sort of feels like Perella's reach has been a factor here.
He's doing a good job keeping him at bay with the jab, touching him up with the jab.
That may be enough. That may be enough to get that round. You've got 3 minutes to work with. You don't have to always do a lot. Sometimes you can do less and get the W.
Harris knows he has to go through that jab to get in, and he's risking eating the right hand on the way in.
That's always the benefit, or really the downside of the shorter fighter who's the aggressor. Sometimes you just eat shots on the way in.
Right.
Harris getting a little bit closer there toward the end.
He broke in.
But time not on his side.
He's looking to wing a shot and catch him.
Perella, if he gets to the bell here, more than likely has the W. This is a big, big swing here for the Butchers as the bell rings, and we'll see how the judges have it. But I think it's
a good win for Perella.
Yeah, I think it's a slight edge, but I think he did enough. And now, fight number 20. That one's been scratched. So now, as we take a look at the replay here, if in fact Perella does have the W, it's going to open up a 2-point edge.
Welcome the next fighters to the ring from the DC Destroyers, Derek Davis, and for the Boston Butchers, Tevin Regis. Fans, round number 19 was scored 10-9 for Boston. The next bout between Alejandro Paulino and Breedy will not happen due to Breedy being unable to compete in this round, so score that fight 10-9 for Boston. The current score is 187 to 185 for Boston.
So there it is, Patrick Sullivan, our ring announcer, breaking it down for you. Back-to-back 10-9s for the Butchers, one by forfeit and one by way of James Perella outworking Patrick Harris. So now it's 187 to 185 Boston, and we've got 4 rounds to go. So this is now a situation, and there's going to be another point coming up for Boston. You're in a situation now, Peter, where it's in theory a 3-point lead for Boston with 3 fights to go. This could end in a draw outright. Whereas if Boston, in Boston, they get one more win, now they're kind of in the driver's seat, and it's going to take knockdowns or knockouts for DC at this point Tevin Regis, 3-0 as a pro from Dorchester, Mass. Had a big win in Rhode Island in March against Devon Shelton. Just signed a long-term deal with CES Boxing, the promoter of record in New England.
Got to finish with that hook, Tev. He's landing that right hand nice, but he's not finishing with the hook. It's going to get him caught.
Derek Davis, we caught a glimpse of him earlier on against Elijah Pacho. Very impressive performance in the middle round. So he's got one under his belt already. Could be a big factor if he gets 2 for DC and gets him right back in this.
Yeah, power is a factor for Davis. That big back generates all that power, sharp. Digging down to the body. Liver shot.
He just was a great football player as a youth. Outstanding athlete. Had a very short amateur career before he turned pro. He's 29, so a bit of a late bloomer.
Power, hard punches. I know some guys that would spar with him. They talk about his punching power.
Davis, as we mentioned, one of the more seasoned TCL pros for DC as Regis lands a big uppercut. We already referenced Davis's 6-3 record as a pro.
That was a push.
Now,
that was a push.
That's a push. In actuality, Davis is now 7-3 with TCL counting his win tonight. So, but Regis not faced. He's hanging in there. It's a good phone booth fight here, Peter.
Yeah.
Both guys.
Good action.
Yeah, good action. It's a very close round. You got 40 seconds to go. This is such an important round. Again, with that female welterweight bout coming up next,
shots.
that's a forfeit. DC really needs the point here.
He's raping him to the body there, that left hook. Tevin still got that sneaky uppercut. He can just land that and neutralize him a little bit.
Davis, for these final 10 seconds, may have to empty the tank because, again, the Destroyers really need this point. Already down 2, in danger of falling behind 3, and then possibly 4 with the forfeit. And that would put them in a position where they're going to need some big knockdowns to win. So that round is in the books. That's fight number 21.
That's a close one, Mike.
It's very close. And at the end of the day, how the judges see this one could determine how this whole entire match ends. Here's some of the replay action. That nice uppercut there by Regis. One of the better shots of the round.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's enough to sway judges, but in a 3-round fight, those are things that you have to look at.
Let's welcome the next fighters into the ring. There's 2 more bouts left in this matchup for the DC Destroyers, Nasheed Smith, and for the Boston Butchers, Francis Hogan. Fans, that last round was scored 10-9 in favor of the DC Destroyers. The next bout was supposed to be Stevie Jane Coleman against Natalie Brown. Brown is unable to compete, so that is a 10-9 for Boston. The current score, 206-204 in favor of the Boston Butchers.
This is razor thin as we head into the final 2 bouts. So the Butchers have a 2-point lead as Francis Hogan tees off against Nasheed Smith. In order for DC to win this, somebody has to hit the canvas for Boston. They're going to need a 10-8 somewhere. They need 3 points to make up a 2-point deficit. So if you're either Francis Hogan or Rashidi Elias, you have to be extremely cautious knowing that the DC Destroyers are desperate at this point, Peter.
They're going to be swinging for the fences here.
As they should. Nasheed Smith took on Thomas O'Toole first time around. Francis Hogan, another one of those undefeated, unblemished Boston fighters that we've talked about. Frank the Tank pressing the action early. And of course, there's also the possibility of this thing ending in a draw if DC gets the last round, but Hogan
hurt him with that left hand.
Hurt him with the left. This could be huge for Boston. Smith complaining of a punch to the back of the head. 2 minutes to go in this round. Here comes Hogan really trying to pour it on against Nasheed Smith. It looks like he's trying to buy some time and wrap him up. Hogan getting the crowd behind him. I mean, you can't underscore how big a round this is, given where the score is. Smith knows what he needs to do. Hogan knows what he needs to do. And they're both coming out winging some bombs here in these final 90 seconds. One more to go in the middleweight division. That's going to be Rashidi Elias and Michael Fox to close out the show. And there's going to be a lot on the line there. And depending on how this one goes, they'll dictate what the strategy is going to have to be for Michael Fox and what the destroyers are going to have to do. But in any event, they're trailing by 2 here. Final minute, Smith is going to have to turn up the pace here because the destroyers need this point a lot more than the butchers do. And of course, a knockdown would be critical.
Talk about tactics. Francis is stealing the round from him by holding
Absolutely.
on. Getting a few shots off, holding him, not letting him back in it.
Final 30 seconds. If Hogan wins this round, now the Butchers have a 3-point edge, which would mean that Michael Fox would have to knock out Rashidi Elias just to finish in a draw. So it's long odds if Smith can't pull out the round here for DC. And you look back on it, those 2 forfeits obviously hurt big time for DC, but that's just the lay of the land and how it goes sometimes. Final seconds here of this one, and we'll see if Hogan's done enough to get the round. It's kind of an awkward clash of styles here in this one. It's a very choppy fight.
2 lefties.
All right, fight 23 in the books. We take a look at the replay action as we feverishly await the final score. It's a very odd contrast of styles and 2 guys who really couldn't find that rhythm.
Right. Some good exchanges.
For the DC Destroyers, Michael Fox, and for the Boston Butchers, Rashidi Elias.
Now this is it, Mike.
Let's see how it went down. Waiting on that scorecard.
Last round was scored 10-9.
10-9 in favor of Boston, so delayed response there by Patrick Sullivan, getting the crowd on the edge of its seat. So let's set the stage here for these final 3 minutes. The Butchers have a 3-point lead. They've all but won this thing. The worst they can do is tie. If Michael Fox is able to knock out Rashidi Ellis, which right now seems like tough sledding as Ellis comes out firing, but if Fox were to get a knockout, it would even the score. However, it's Rashidi Ellis sending Michael Fox through the ropes. And that is scored a knockdown, I believe. I didn't see a count, but that appeared to be a knockdown. If that's the case, this is all but in the bag for the Boston Butchers as Rashidi Ellis trying to close it out in style in front of the hometown crowd.
And he is. He's swinging for the fences.
Oh, absolutely.
Here.
Even knowing where the score is, he's coming to end it in style. The crowd chanting, Boston, Boston. It's a true home field crowd. This is what you love to see. This is really what this unique element brings to the sport.
This is great, Mike.
What an awesome night. Now Michael Fox has a real uphill battle. Almost impossible at this point for DC to tie. It's impossible for them to win it based on what the scorecard shows. You can't get a 10-6 round. Ooh, nice shot there by Ellis. Just turning, fighting on angles here against Fox. Final 90 seconds and what looks like going to be a narrow but hard-fought win for the Boston Butchers in their TCL opener. So the pace has slowed, but a great start for Rashidi Elias, who set a tone in this match, Peter.
I think he won the round and is just
Right now, not a lot that Michael Fox can do. Again, a knockout would be the only way to even the score, and even that seems like an uphill battle here with 30 seconds. And don't call Ellis speedy for nothing. He's a tough guy to land on and connect with. Only one pro loss in his career. It's been a tremendous career at that. Now, Michael Fox, to his credit, came into this bout 2-2 in TCL combat, 22-4 overall as a pro. Very tall, lanky southpaw from up in Marlboro, Maryland. Very tough fighter. Boy, Ellis really brought it to him tonight. This is a guy who once challenged for a WBA World Interim Welterweight title. So this Michael Fox is no slouch. Ellis did a great job tonight, and it looks like, by all accounts, your Boston Butchers are going to move to 1-0 in TCL combat in their inaugural bout here at the Oceanside Riviera. What night of action.
Fox did a lot better than I thought he would against Ellis. Really good.
Yeah, you know, it was a desperation moment there for DC where they needed a knockout just to even it out, but Rashidi Ellis came out so strong that he really left no opportunity for Michael Fox to close the gap or even take that round.
He
and
stole it from him.
I think they had a knockdown there, though I wasn't really sure how they scored it. We'll find out momentarily when we get those final scorecards. But what is showing, and you know, we'll talk about this in a minute, Peter, some of the turning points here, but this went from being what looked like it was going to be a runaway for the Butchers to a very close matchup where DC had some momentum in the middle, and then Boston, of course, turning it on where it counted most in those money rounds.
The strategy really played into it.
And as they mentioned, the coaches select who fights those final 8 money rounds. So they're saving their best for the end and an opportunity, if needed, to get big points and pile them up if it in fact is a close match, or in fact if they're trailing at the end. So we're just about ready for the final announcement. You see ring announcer Pat Sullivan flanked by Boston Butchers General Manager Jimmy Birchfield, who is the president and CEO of Classic Entertainment and Sports, CES Boxing, and CES MMA. One of the hardest working promoters in the sport. And he has brought a world-class team here to Boston for the inaugural season of the Boston Butchers in Team Combat League.
All right, fight fans here in Revere, Massachusetts. And for everybody watching at home on TeamCombatLeague.tv, let's give it a round of applause one more time for the DC Destroyers, coached by Barry Hunter, and the Boston Butchers, coached by Mark Gagaro. The moment you've all been waiting for, fans. Your winner tonight with a final score of 226 to 222. DJ, give me that dirty water from Boston Butchers!
So as it turns out, it was a 10-9 round for Rashidi Ellis. Boston wins by 4 in the end. Hard fought effort, and Peter, you know, it really came down to those money rounds. That's why they call them the money rounds. Boston had the advantage of 2 fights being scored in their favor due to injuries on the DC side, but at the end of the day, Boston still did enough. That early cushion helped to withstand that momentum surge by DC in the middle, and Boston really an impressive output tonight, 226 and 222. Who stood out to you the most tonight?
You know, the fights were great. The competition was world class. But what I'm seeing now, the camaraderie and the sportsmanship in the ring right now, the celebration between the Butchers and the respect of Barry Hunter and the DC Destroyers, that's something that you don't see every day.
I agree.
Star number 3 from the DC Destroyers, Charles Cox. Star number 2 from the Boston Butchers, Irving Gonzalez! And your top star of the evening, closer, Rashidi Ellis!
No doubt about that, Mike.
Hard to argue against Ellis being the top star with 2 wins, including the final, in a situation where DC could have tied this and ended up with a draw had there been a knockout. Ellis came out guns blazing in that 24th and final fight to secure it for the Boston Butchers. If I had to give a star 1A, for me it would be Melanie Costa. The reason being, after that first victory by Jennifer Miranda in the money round, where it made it a 1-point deficit for DC, she came out guns blazing against Jamie Mitchell, and that was such a big point, piggybacked off of James Frella and then the Alejandro Polino forfeit. I think Costa really set a tone in the money rounds getting that victory, and that allowed them to surge ahead. So what a tremendous night, Peter. Again, we recapped some of the action. We saw some early knockouts. And we saw what this format brings to the table, right? We saw momentum surges. We saw fighters pulling ahead early, teams coming back in the middle rounds, and then, of course, the money rounds. I think you said it best, Peter, the camaraderie. It's hard to know how 24 boxers who have their own individual careers will mesh together as a team, but they're all legitimately pulling for one another. This really brings new meaning to team sports.
Yep, the loyalty, the sportsmanship, you know, that spirit of Boston. You could see it in all these fighters. They're all working together for the same goal, is to win the championship, to win the title.
And these are fighters who, by the way, could at some point compete against each other in a regional fight. You know how big that is in this neck of the woods. It's neighborhood bragging rights, Boston versus Connecticut, Rhode Island versus Massachusetts. Right. We've seen that in the past locally, but for now, they put all that aside. They work together as a team, and the Butchers look great tonight. It really started early on with Irving Gonzalez with a knockout. He was your number 2 star tonight, and of course, Rashidi Ellis getting 2 big wins, including the finale in the end. Also, Thomas O'Toole, super impressive tonight. Alejandro Polino, I thought, in a very tough bout against Kobe Breedy. That was another one of those swing bouts to watch. And of course, the James Perella matchup in the Battle of Unbeatens also proved to be a big turning point tonight.
Right.
I think when you look at this roster, this is a very deep, loaded Boston roster. They got a real good shot to go to the playoffs and eventually compete for a championship.
Right. And what was unexpected to me was when Costa made that great momentum shift, and that just sent the Butchers in the right direction. Nice trajectory to the win.
No, it really was, because we saw at the end of those launch rounds, DC won the last 2 fights in the launch round, and that momentum kind of carried over in the middle rounds.
Right.
You saw Jabali Breedy come out with that big knockout over Ricardo Espartine to open up the middle rounds, and all of a sudden we had a real matchup.
Right.
And then the Destroyers got right back into it, and then that momentum finally started trending in the other direction. And it really started, I think, again, with Melanie Costa in the money rounds to 100%. Get that big win. There was some tough, tense moments in the middle for Boston, but that's what it's all about. When you look at team sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, football, there's so many storylines in those games, and that's what TCL brings to the table with this format. So I'm a big fan. I love it. I think it was a great format tonight. I want to thank all of our viewers tonight for joining us here at the Oceanside Revere on TeamCombatLeague.tv. And one more time, I want to thank our sponsors, Two Trees Distillery Whiskey, Adams Boxing, and Venom Boxing for helping us bring all the action to fight fans. We once again thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again here in Boston for the next Butchers home matchup. For Peter Welch, I'm Michael Parenti. Thank you, and we'll see you next time at the fights.